Ford, we're not going to say that I'm coming down to fight the productivity coach. It's on recording now. I'm coming for you. Coming for you. All right, we've got Nicholas. Where are you? Raise your hand.
I'm right here.
There you are. You are now a co-host friend. I'm going to jump out. You guys have a fabulous Ignite, and we'll see you on Zoomies and at Mohegan in the Growth Call. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Brooke. Man, usually I am the energy in the room, but Brooke just like took over. I don't even know what to do at this point in time. So, good morning, KW New England. How is everybody doing this morning?
All right.
I got nothing. Listen, I want to hit those space bars if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Can you talk to me?
Yes.
All right, cool. This is an interactive Ignite, guys. I want to hear you guys. Your energy is going to make me grow throughout this whole session here. So, and we're talking about one of my favorite things in the world, which is negotiations. So I'm super excited to have you guys all on here. So before we get started, my name is Nick Geisinger. I am the productivity coach for the KW in Northern Rhode Island. I also run the Geisinger Group at this KW. I have been in the business for about 12 years, sold over 500 properties. And now I'm here to talk to you guys about the negotiations that I've been doing in that period of time and how I like to kick the crap out of the agents on the other side. So I also have one of my favorite people in the world, a colleague of mine, Melanie Ruiz, who is one of our coaches. She's also our tech coordinator. So Melanie, I just want to welcome you to the party today.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much.
Melanie is also another negotiation expert. So we're going to teach you guys a lot of great tips and some tactics that you guys can use to kick ass today. So we're going to jump right over into that PowerPoint, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling. Give me 1 second. All right, so as we discussed today, this is Elemental's session number 7. We're going to be talking about negotiating that real estate transaction. We're going to talk about it from both sides, the buyer side, the seller side. All right, so before we get into that, all right, what do real estate agents have to do to be successful and have a successful career? We break that down into two sides. They grow their business to run their business, right? If we don't grow our business, there's nothing to run, right? And if we don't run our business, right, what's the point of growing? What's the point of lead generation if we're not going to run that business? And the aspect we're going to talk about today, once again, is negotiating contracts, which is a huge part. And it's an evolving thing that we do within the real estate transaction. So in today's crazy market, we know that it's a little bit different, right? So when I got in the business 12 years ago, negotiations were completely drastically different than what they are today. So I live here down in Rhode Island, sell a lot of real estate. A lot of my agents sell a lot of real estate. So we know the market down here is pretty crazy, right? It's a lot of control. I just bought a house in New Hampshire, and I know that the market was pretty gnarly up there as well. So I'm sure where you guys are at, you guys have a pretty crazy market right now. So negotiations are a little bit different. So if you take this class in a year or 2 years, right, we're going to have a completely different class. So today we're going to gear it around today's environment, really. But we'll touch on some other stuff in slower markets and things like that as we go through it. So before we get into that, when do we negotiate outside of a real estate transaction? Let's get interactive here. When do you guys negotiate outside of a real estate transaction?
All the time.
All the time. Okay, I want more specifics, Mr. Jim from Stowe.
You're always negotiating with your friends. You're going out to dinner. You negotiate where you're going, what time you're leaving.
All right, friends, with somebody else. When is another time we negotiate?
With my kids, but they win all the time.
Children. Well, we're going to teach you how to make sure that you win and dominate those negotiations moving forward. When else do we negotiate, guys?
Dogs, trying to get them inside the house after letting them outside the house.
Pets, absolutely. Hey, come in. Get in the house. Get in the house. I'll give you a treat. Right? That's negotiations, right? When else do we negotiate? Where else can we negotiate?
Buying a car.
Buying a car, right? That's usually the first one. I can't believe it took that long for that one to come out.
I'm doing it right now, so I'm in it.
So you're going through that process right now, which is super fun, right? Buying a car. Where else do we negotiate?
Contractors.
Contractors, right? That's a great one. Absolutely. Where else do we negotiate?
I negotiate with my husband every day.
Husband, spouse, right? Significant others. Absolutely. Who else do we negotiate
Flea
with?
market.
The flea market, right? When we go down to the flea market, you see a deal, you try to get a deal on something. Where else do we negotiate?
Renting an apartment.
Renting an apartment. I love it. I love it. Right? Has anybody ever negotiated at Lowe's?
Yes.
Yeah.
I negotiate at Lowe's all the time. Open box, right? Hey, I'm going to buy a pallet. What can you do for me? Right? There's opportunities to negotiate everywhere, right? And if you love to negotiate, right, you can find a place to negotiate every single day. I'm a certified real estate negotiation specialist, but the reality is every single one of you guys is a negotiation specialist as well, because we do it every single day, like y'all said at the beginning. We negotiate every single day. So now let's get back to real estate. All right. Who do we negotiate with in a real estate transaction?
Sellers and buyers.
Sellers, right? Buyers,
Other
Okay, who else?
agents.
Other agents,
they're
yeah.
agents. Absolutely. Who else?
The banks.
Yeah,
Banks,
vendors.
The lenders,
vendors.
yeah.
So how do we negotiate with a bank?
A finance guy takes
Terms.
care of that.
Sure. Yeah, but it's most of the banks we're dealing with are you know, they've got
How about
national
how
regulations and
soon-
things like that.
How soon they can
timelines.
close.
Yeah, okay. Cracking that whip, right? How soon can
Deadlines.
that lender? How about interest rates? Right.
Yes.
So one of the tips that I have is when I'm working with a buyer and they're working with a lender and I'm like, no, I don't know if I want to work with that lender because I haven't had a lot of great experience with them or I haven't done a transaction with them. I'll say, hey, listen, can you try out this lender? I have a great relationship with them. Just see what they can do. Hey, there's a good chance they can beat your rate, right? Almost every single one of my lenders, they'll beat a rate, right? In order to get that deal, they'll beat the rate. So that's negotiations right there. And I reach out, hey man, can you beat the rate of this person, right? We're constantly negotiating throughout these transactions. All right. So, and it's an evolving circle, right? We're constantly negotiating with somebody, right? So if you're the buyer's agent, you're negotiating with your buyer, right? You're negotiating with the selling agent. All right. You could be negotiating with a contractor for quotes, the lender, the attorneys, right? Same thing on the selling side, right? You're negotiating with your client, you're negotiating with the buyer's agent, contractors, all the same people, right? If there is no buyer's agent or if there is no listing agent, you could be negotiating with that seller, right? So there's going to be a lot of interaction throughout that. So what does it mean to negotiate? What does it mean to negotiate?
You're trying to bargain to get the upper hand, or at least get something more than what they're offering.
Bargaining, it's a back and forth, right? Bargaining is right? It's a back and forth. It's going back and forth. Now, in today's real estate world, how many of us are doing a lot of negotiations? Right?
Not
Probably
a
not
lot.
as much as we used to,
Yeah.
right? Highest and best due Monday at 4 o'clock. What type of negotiation is there?
None.
None.
Not
Yeah.
much.
Shotgun.
Not much, right? On the listing side, you know, when I call highest and best, I still come back typically to the top 3. And I'll negotiate with them a little bit, but it's not the old school mentality of negotiating back and forth 20 times, right? I used to love that, right? When I got in the business 12 years ago, that's what we did, right? We were putting in, for a buyer, you were putting in an offer 50,000 below asking price. And then we nibbled back and forth, sometimes like 10 times, right? Until we arrived at a certain destination. Nowadays, it's not quite the same scenario, right? Because they've got 20 offers. We're just going in with our highest and best. Okay. Melanie, when was the last time you negotiated a deal and what did you negotiate?
My commission.
Oh, your commission. Let's talk about that for a second. So how did that go?
Most recently I had a good friend of mine who over some time I had attempted to sell their house in the past. They're good friends. I always assumed it was my listing at 6% because that's what I charge. And I got a call that this other agent who knew the family was going to do it for 4%. And so, some agents may be like, oh, okay, fine. Or, oh, I can't take that and walk away. And so I said, okay, let's get together and talk about that a little bit. And long story short, I didn't get 6, but I also didn't get 4. And, you know, I had to show them my value and why I wasn't the lowest rate around. And, you know, yes, it was some sales skill, but it was also just knowing the market and knowing how to do my job well and knowing that I'm going to do better than the other agent.
And not to get on a side note, but knowing your value proposition. All right. Knowing your value is incredibly important. If you know your value, then you'll fight to the death. Right. For anything in negotiations, right? Which is pretty cool. So
Hey, can I ask, this is Brian McGrain, and I'm going to be negotiating with a family relative very, well, almost similar to what you're saying right now. And can you just elaborate on kind of what sold them on the value proposition? Because this gets really tricky. A really good friend like that's like family. And you have an expectation they're going to use you, but that's not the way to look at this in this market right now. So
all right, so this class is about negotiations. So what I'm going to do is, Brian, we're going to role play right now. Brian, I want you to be the family member, and I want you to attack Melanie right now and be like, man, you're a family member. You should do this for nothing.
Okay, good. I wish the lighting was better on my camera.
It's all good. It's all good as long as we can hear you and it's nice and clear.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, good. And I'm sorry, your name is not up for some reason. Let's see.
Melanie.
Oh, I'm Melanie.
Melanie. Okay, good. Okay, good. So I'm going to be, let's just say, I'm going to be Mary because I'm dealing with a female. Okay, right. So I'll be Mary, and you're the agent, right?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Who's going to start this?
I could start it.
All right.
Okay, Mary, so yeah, I can appreciate that somebody's offering you 4% versus the 6%. And obviously my goal is to get you the most money for the house. So let's just set up a time to sit down and kind of walk through the process, and I'll show you, you know, why I think it makes sense to actually use me versus the agent with the lower commission.
Right. Well, maybe you could give me an idea though, Melanie, right now, because, you know, my husband and I have kind of decided that, you know, 4% versus 6s, that's a big number off of a $800,000 house. So give me some idea of, you know, some of the things that you might be able to offer me, maybe even before we meet, because I think it's a good idea. I'd like my husband to be involved with that conversation as well, because we are talking about a lot of money. I do respect that we've been friends for 25 years. But with this kind of money, you know, I think we need to make a good decision for our family.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. You should do what is in the best interest of your family, 100%. Yeah, I mean, so generally speaking, I think some of the things that you need to consider is, and Brian, Mary, I'll be perfectly honest with you. You know, we joke around in the office that right now you could stand outside in your underwear with a for sale sign and you could probably sell your house on your own, right? Because that's just the kind of market that we're in.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I'll tell you, Mary, you won't sell it for as much money as I would in the least amount of time with the least amount of stress, right?
Okay.
So my goal is to not just sell your house, but sell it for the maximum amount of money that you can. And, you know, when we sit down, I'll show you all of the things that I do to get my clients the most amount of money, not just sell their house, but get them the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of stress. And because I have so many steps, I'm running a business, right? And if you were to go to someone else and ask them to lower their costs, well, if they're going to lower their fee, then they have to lower their costs. So that probably means they're going to have to not do some of those things, right? And Mary, I don't want to not do all of those things that I need in order to get you the most money. And also, you know, especially in this market, it is a little bit easier for agents to sell your home, but they won't sell it for as much as I will. Okay.
Okay.
And the other thing to think about, Mary, is, you know, if that agent is willing to cut their commission right off the start, how much easier is it going to be for them to give away your money? If they're willing to give away their own money, how much easier is it for them to give away your money, right? So why don't we sit down and I'll show you what all of those steps are and how I'll get you more money net with a higher commission.
Right. So, yeah, I know that we've known each other for so long, so I'd love to do that this coming weekend, but we want to make a decision pretty soon. So do me a favor and come very prepared, and maybe you can talk to us about what you'd sell our house for, what the comps are in the area, and how you'll really help us, because now we're talking about a $16,000 difference between
Right.
you and the other person I'm dealing with. So, we have to find some sort of compromise or something where I can justify the $16,000 difference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so when I sat down with them, the question I asked, so Mary, now that we're here, a couple of things that I want to, and obviously my presentation was about an hour and a half, I said, but the couple of things I picked out was, typically the real estate agents are going to do what we call the 3 Ps. They put a sign in your yard, they put the house in the MLS, and then they pray. And they just sit
Yeah.
back and they wait for people to show up. Well, Mary, that's not what I do. I am proactively out there looking for buyers for your house. So we're making calls, we're knocking on doors, we're sending things out to the neighborhood so that we are proactively bringing buyers into your property. And Mr. or Mary, probably because you've been in the market, the way that people buy houses are online or using a real estate agent. So Mary, everything that we do is to market to internet and to other buyers. So one of the most important things now on the internet is running ads. And Keller Williams actually has a really great relationship with Facebook. So when we run Facebook ads, we get a lot more traction on our ads, and they cost us less money to run them, so we can run more of them. And the culture of Keller Williams is one that agents all help each other. So Mary, when we're selling your house, it's not just me, it's several other agents in the office that are also running ads to help bring buyers to your property.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds really interesting, and I'd like to hear more about that and some of the marketing. That's Facebook, and then some of the other marketing strategies you're going to use, maybe to justify the $16,000, right?
Right. So Mary, can I ask you, when you think about selling your house, what's the number in the end that you have in your head is what you're trying to walk away with?
Well, some of the other neighbors that we know of that have moved in the last 6 months or a year in our neighborhood, the prices have been absolutely crazy with the number of over asking offers. So, we're really interested in what your perspective would be there.
Yep.
Let's just say we think that we can ask somewhere in the 775 or 800, but then I'd really like to know what you think we should do, because this over asking is a big deal, and that could be $50,000, $100,000, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of money. So Mary,
Yeah.
do you still have a mortgage that you need to pay off?
We have a small mortgage because we've been in the house for so long. We have about a $400,000 mortgage.
Okay. Okay. So let's say, just for, purposes of examples, let's say we sell it for 775. You pay off your mortgage for 400. So your expectation is around 375,000, right?
At least, right? Yeah.
At least, right. So Mary, if you could get at least 375,000 net walk away from the table, and I'm confident, Mary, that I could actually get you more than that, would that commission necessarily matter as much if you net more money than you would have expected? And that allows me to get you the most money, but also do it in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of stress.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm hearing from my neighbors is this is a game, and it's kind of a fun one if you're selling right now. I'm doing this because my daughter.
I mean, Mary, that's why I do this job, right?
What's that?
I mean, Mary, that's why I do this job. I think it's very fun. But in all seriousness, I mean, Mary, we're talking about, almost $500,000 of your money, right? So while
Right.
it is fun, there are several things that are going on throughout the transaction where that, you know, $500,000 could be a risk. And you want to make sure that you have a professional who can help you get through all those potential hurdles on where that $500,000 could turn into less money, more time, lots of stress. And so you really want to have someone out there that's able to negotiate at a very high level to not only make sure that we get you that money, but that we ultimately, you need to get to the closing table, right? And so yes, we need to get you as much money as possible, but we also need to make sure that we get you to the closing table.
Right, and I definitely appreciate that. So Melanie, I think the biggest issue is going to be, I think my husband and I are going to really want to understand where you are with what price you would put a house on the market, and what strategies you're going to do to get us kind of the highest offer over asking. So those,
Absolutely.
I think that's the big thing. So
Yep.
be happy to meet with you.
Great.
Awesome,
on Saturday.
awesome. Great job, guys. So the keys to this, right? All right, we're not discount agents. All right, that's a bold thing. You learn that if you guys ever take bold. I'm not a discount agent, right? A lot of discount agents are going to come in there. They're going to cut their costs by cutting their marketing. All right, Keller Williams, we will market to more buyers than anybody else. Statistically, we do that every single day. Nobody can say they market to more buyers than Keller Williams. We syndicate to more websites than anybody else. We're going to get out to more people, right? We have the KW Sphere, which is huge. Okay. And then the negotiations, the training, what you guys are doing right now, right? Companies don't have this. They don't have classes on negotiation. They don't have an 18-week course that covers every aspect of real estate. And then on top of it, we have more classes, right? So the negotiations is right there. A big part is confidence, right? So I'm also a 6% agent. My family and friends, they pay me 5.5. My mother pays me 5.5. If I sell my mother's house on the east side of Providence, the east side of Providence is a 6% location. I don't care if you're my mother, you're paying me 6%, right? Because I have to offer the 3% to the other side. All right. And I use that as a tool as well, right? When you've got a 3% commission and then an identical house next door has a 2% commission, what's more attractive? The 3% commission, right? So where are we going to take the money away from? All right. There's a lot of different things that we can jump into in regards to that. All right. The reality is that, you know, we're worth that money, right? And if you stand your ground, and Melanie said the quote that I use and I've used time and time again that wins people over. I say, listen, if I were to just take that 6% commission and cut it down to 4% right now, what do you think I'd be doing when I'm negotiating your deal? I'd be cutting it right there as well. All right. But me standing here fighting for my commission, I'm doing the same thing when I'm negotiating your transaction. I guarantee I'm going to get you 2, 3, 4, 5% more than that 4% agent that doesn't have that incentive to sell that house. So the $16,000 is nothing, right? Because I'm going to easily get you $30,000 more for the sale of that house, right? Confidence. I know it. I know it's going to happen, right? And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to teach you guys how to negotiate, how to get a little bit more in those transactions. So Melanie and Mary, thank you so much. That was a wonderful scripting right there. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Melanie.
All right. So what we're going to be talking about today is how your ability to negotiate affects the outcome of a deal. Okay. Because there are good negotiators, there are bad negotiators. So we're going to talk about that and how that can affect us. We already talked about some other ways that we negotiate in life, which we know is everywhere. All right. We're going to talk about skills that a great negotiator possesses. Okay. And we're also going to talk about asking questions. Okay. So we're going to dive right into this negotiation stuff. So let's talk about some other issues outside of commission that we're going to be negotiating. What are some other items or areas throughout a real estate transaction that we're going to end up negotiating? What do we negotiate, guys?
Property damages or fix-ups,
Repairs.
yep.
Repairs, or even damages, right? I had a hurricane come through and knock a couple of trees down on one of my houses one time. That was fun, right? We had to negotiate that. All right, so repairs. What else do we negotiate in a real estate transaction? Repairs,
Right.
commission. We know those two. What
Appliances.
else? What, finances?
No, appliances.
Appliances, conveyances, right? What's coming with the property, what is not? What else do we negotiate?
After an inspection on the house,
So inspection, yep, that would be in repairs, right? What else?
Closing date.
Closing date, absolutely. What day are we gonna close on this thing? That's a big negotiation point in a lot of transactions right now, okay? What else do we negotiate?
Price.
Price, how is that? You guys are, what's going on? Price, that's like usually the first one. Price, we negotiate price, right? That's probably the number one thing that we negotiate. What else? There's a couple more. If you guys open up your sheet, it's on page 5. If anybody wants to cheat. What else are we gonna what are some other big things we negotiate? Right? What about closing costs? Does the buyer need closing costs? They need $5,000 to cover their closing costs. That's an item that we could negotiate, especially in today's market. That's a big negotiation point, because if we're asking for an extra $5,000, that means the house has to appraise by an extra $5,000. All right, so closing costs, that's another one. All right, what about deposits? How much are you putting down? Okay, Melanie, what are some things that we're negotiating in this market right now that we typically don't negotiate?
Appraisal gaps.
Appraisal gap coverage, right? That's one of the things. So that's one of the main things that I'm negotiating right now. I get a bunch of offers. I come back. If I don't have gap coverage, I'll go back and be like, hey, would your client be willing to put any money towards gap coverage if the property doesn't appraise? Right? We never ever saw that before until this market, right? So the gap coverage, that's a big one. What's another thing that we're negotiating right now that we typically don't in a normal market? Does anybody have any idea?
Waiving inspections.
Inspections, right? Inspections for information purposes only, or voiding inspections altogether, right? That's another item, a big item that we negotiate, okay? So, right, you could, same situation, you could be the listing agent, go back and be like, hey, listen, I got 3 really good offers. They're very similar. Is your client willing to void inspections or do them for information purposes only, or willing to contribute any money if the property doesn't appraise? Okay. Deposit. Hey, would your client be willing to up their $1,000 deposit to $5,000? All right. And the buyer's agent could come back and be like, we can't do 5,000, we can do 25, right? That's negotiations. All right. Close date. All right. My seller really wants to, they don't want to close until September 20th. Okay. So is your client willing to wait till September 20th? They won't wait till September 20th, but they could probably do like September 1st, right? Once again, negotiations. Okay. How about contingencies? Contingent on buyer selling their home, right? Contingent on the sale of a seller or the purchase of or suitable housing for a buyer, right? Other things that can be negotiated. All right. In a lot of cases, that's something that can't be moved around, but in some cases it is. Hey, listen, you know what? The only issue that we have with your offer, because your offer is great, is the contingency. Is there any way you can release that? Let me talk to my buyers. Let's see if they can afford to hold both. They can. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Right? Or how many days are we going to give the seller to find their next home? Right? We're going to give them 30 days. We're going to give them 90 days. Right? So these are all points that we're going to negotiate. All right, repairs. Right, I just failed a septic system the other day, on Tuesday. I did an inspection. All right, inspections were for information purposes only. Septic failed, heating system failed, roof failed, foundation failed. Woo, information purposes only. We technically can't ask for anything, right? My clients are like, we're out. They still did the inspection. So I went back to the seller. I was like, hey, listen, my clients are backing out. It's just too much. All right, my clients were like, hey, if they do the septic system, we'll move forward. Right? So even though we were in an information purposes only situation, we still negotiated. Right? And they agreed to do a septic system. Because anybody, if we backed out, the next buyer, they were going to need a septic system. Right?
For an information inspection only.
Yeah.
As the seller, I could say if it's for information only, do it the day after closing.
Yeah, well, the buyer, this is the situation. in most states, I know that New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, I don't know about Maine or Vermont. So if anybody's from those areas, I don't know what to tell you there, but I know that an inspection for information purposes only, it's really kind of a bullshit statement. Me and Melanie kind of joke about that all the time. It's kind of bullshit. Doesn't really mean anything because you still are not voiding the right to do the inspections, right? So I'm doing inspections for information purposes only. Now, I'm not going to ask you for anything like I was in that Connecticut deal. I didn't ask them for anything. I just said, hey, my clients are going to back out. And the agent was like, well, wait. What can we do to hold this thing together? That's when I said, if you do the septic, I know that they'll move forward. So a seller could say that, but most contracts, at least my understanding, the buyer still has the right to do those inspections, right? And you have the right in that inspection section to back out. So a lot of states have a section that says voiding inspections. If you void inspections, then you cannot back out for any inspection item, right? But most states you can. So yeah, some sellers get difficult with it, but the reality is I set the expectation with my sellers anyways. And I say, hey, listen, it's better than them just doing inspections, saying information purposes only, but it doesn't really change anything. They can still back out if they want to. They could still come and ask us for stuff, right? If you come back and ask for like, hey, there's, you know, a window pane that the seal is gone and you want that fixed after you did information purposes only, you're going to look like a jerk, at least to me, as a listing agent. Like don't be nitpicking stuff like that. But I mean, if we do have a septic that fails, roof fails, a big item like that, I can understand those situations. And remember that 90% of the real estate is sold by 10% of the real estate agents. I know Keller Williams teaches you it's 80-20 rule, but the reality, at least here in Southern New England, is that 90% of the real estate is sold by 10% of the real estate agents. And we only have like 6,000, 7,000 agents. That's not a lot of people, right? So you don't want to do an information purposes only situation and then just ask for everything like you never said anything in the first place, because that's just not a great practice. So David, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right.
Nick,
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Trevor.
think that could probably work if you have maybe only 1 or 2 offers, right? But if you have a ton of offers come in and they're strong, you're taking that one. You're not even going to give it a chance, right? That's what we talked about that last night.
It depends on where you're at. Like, so in this market, when we have 20 offers, it comes down to the little details, right? So I'm looking at a bunch of things. I'm going to look at price. I almost never take the most expensive offer because it's usually like an FHA, no gap coverage, outrageous $50,000 above what market value is, right? So I'm looking for something within the market value range because it has to appraise, right? And then I'm going to start looking at somebody voiding inspections because that's big, because that could be, in this case, we've got $25,000 worth of repairs. So that could be $25,000. It could be $2, right? It could be nothing. And then I'm also looking at that gap coverage. Those are the big things that I look at right now in this market, right? Because I know I'm getting ridiculous offers and we're starting to see a lot of appraisal issues. So, I mean, it could be a difference maker, but you never know. You might have 6 offers full price. None of them are above asking price. And only Trevor says inspections for information purposes only, right? As long as the financing is equal, I'm going to take Trevor's. Because he's basically telling me he's not going to bust chops, but he could. So it depends on the situation, right? I could have 20 offers. I could have 4 offers. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later is that when I submit an offer, I always give my clients the best opportunity to get it mentally. Like, okay, I might know that, hey, we should probably go a little more than 5,000 above asking price, but you know what? I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be positive, right? I just submitted an offer 2 weeks ago. There were 8 offers. I submitted the worst offer. Okay. My offer got accepted. Not accepted, but they negotiated with me, right? The realtor came to me and she said, I want to work with you, even though you have the worst offer. Because I called her, right? I was professional, right? I had my lender for the buyer call her as well, which was the only person that did that. Okay. I expressed that it was going to be a professional transaction. Okay. And she was like, wow, man, you know, she told me just this week when we did our inspection, she goes, I didn't know, for the first time ever, I had 8 offers. I didn't know anybody. And you were the one that stood out, right? This is like, I mean, I live in Rhode Island. This is in Connecticut, so I don't do a lot of stuff. And it was really far into Connecticut. So I was deeper than I usually am, right? So she was like, you know, you were the one that stood out. And then I told her I was a coach and she's like, ah, that makes sense. But she accepted my offer because of the small little details, right? It's the little details sometimes that work. So Trevor, in that situation, yes, sometimes you're gonna get blown out of the water, but other cases, your offer is gonna get accepted. Does that make sense? Any other questions in regards to that, guys, while we're chatting on it? All right, Melanie, if you see anybody in the chat, bring anything up, just let me know and we'll jump on it. All right, so we've talked about those negotiation issues. Of course, there are other things that are in there, right? There's a million different things that could come up. And that's what's really exciting about real estate. That's why I love it. That's why I've done it for so long. I've got a bachelor's in fine arts, right? Real estate is not where I thought I was going to be, right? But I love real estate because there's just so much going on every single transaction, right? I told you guys I've closed over 500 deals. I'm closing, I've got over 85 people in my coaching program right now. Every single day, I'm getting like 20, 30 questions. And half of those, I was like, man, that's a new one. I haven't even heard of that. I got baffled this morning with a question that was thrown at me because the scenario is a little bit different than I'm used to. So, and that's what's kind of fun about real estate. So make sure that you guys are leaning on your coaches when you're negotiating. All right. As a coach, I'm a coach. Melanie is a coach. When our agents are doing their offers, we're like, bring me the offers. Let's review it. Let's look over it. Right. And because it's ever changing, it's always a good idea to constantly be looking at it. Even if you guys are not in the coaching program anymore, bring it to somebody else's attention. Be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? All right. Because it's not always, right. It's not always just the closing cost. What about the lender? Does anybody ever take that into consideration? Okay. All right, when we're negotiating, I'm looking at who's the lender on the other side. Have I done transactions with them? Have they called me? Have I talked to them? Right? Who's the realtor on the other side of the transaction? Okay, these are important things that we're looking at when we are negotiating a transaction. Okay, I had an agent recently reach out to me and say, hey, listen, we just had a buyer back out. Are your guys still interested? Absolutely. All right, would your guys be okay getting pre-approved through a specific lender that the seller has chosen? Doesn't mean that my clients have to use that person, right? But they got burned because they had a deal fall apart with financing. So now the seller's like, hey, I want to have, you know, this lender that I trust, all right, pre-approve them. And I was like, absolutely not a problem. And my client got pre-approved and he gave the green light, and then my clients moved forward and then they used their lender. They didn't use that lender, right? But that's, once again, another negotiation point. So we'll see them. There's a lot of different stuff that we see that pops up. And sometimes it's not as common as closing date and price and things like that, but a lot of fun stuff does come up through the transaction.
How do you negotiate the conversation with the seller if you're choosing someone that has a lower price? What's that conversation like? What's that negotiation like?
Yep. So this is the deal. So I'm looking out for the seller's best interest. Okay. So we've got an outrageous offer. I don't have comps to support that. The likelihood that higher offer is going to get accepted is not very good. Okay. Also in that situation, I don't know who this realtor is, right? I know that in Rhode Island, right, we're allowed to do this. In Rhode Island, I can actually, if I have 5 offers and one of them is Melanie, and I know Melanie is a rock star, I can actually go to Melanie and be like, hey, listen, these are the offers that I have, right? I want to work with you. Okay. Now it sounds like I'm cutting those other realtors out, but I am, right? But the reality is that that's what's in my client's best interest, right? I know I've done transactions with Melanie. I know she knows the business, right? I know that she's going to get this thing done, right? And that's looking out for my client. In Rhode Island, I know that I can do that. I'm not sure about all the other states in New England. But the reality is that's something that we do every day. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, right? So I got to do what's in the best interest of my client. Yeah, absolutely.
And I use this when I was talking to Mary. You know, I explained to my clients that yes, our intention is to get you the most money for the house, but our focus also needs to be on getting to the closing table. And I always explain to them there's hurdles that we can come across throughout the process. So we want to minimize the number of hurdles and we want to minimize the impact of those hurdles. And so using an agent that you've done business with before, you already know that they are going to get their documents done on time. They're going to make sure that everything is completed when it's supposed to be. Like, those are things that are going to help us get to that finish line. Versus another agent who their offer may be $10,000 higher, but I know that that agent doesn't do their job and that they take a really long time to get their paperwork in. We're probably going to end up closing 3 weeks later. So now that $10,000 isn't as much value because we've lost 3 weeks. So I always tell them to also focus on just getting to the closing table and making sure that we minimize as many issues along the way.
Absolutely. Right. So Travis, you got a question?
Yeah, I know, obviously we don't want to bash each other, but let's say, like Melanie was saying, she knows another realtor isn't really doing their job as well as they could be. And if you had proof on, look, here's the last, let's say 5 transactions I had, see the listing price, see what it sold for. This is the last 5 transactions that agent had. Do you see what happened here? They got only asking price or even less on most of them. Can you do that, or is that wrong?
We try to avoid that altogether, right? And I'm not going to talk badly about anybody. What I'm going to say is, hey, listen, this agent I've had a lot of great experience with. I feel the most confident working with this person moving forward. Right? I'm never ever going to say anything bad or show stats or anything on anybody else. It's always, hey, listen, I think if I were in this transaction, I would push towards this person. Right? One of the reasons when I'm in my coaching program, the first question I ask every single agent when they're like in negotiations, putting an offer, anything, who's the realtor? Who's the realtor on the other side? Because that is so important to me. Then my second question is, who's the lender? Right? Those are the 2 key points to a real estate transaction. Right? If I know the person on the other side, right, I'm going to call him up and be like, hey, listen, Trevor, he's one of my agents. He's a brand new agent. He's submitting an offer. I just want you to know I'm going to have my eyes on the whole transaction. Instantaneous credibility. Now, Trevor is already at the top of the list right there, knowing that this person that knows me knows that I'm going to be involved in that transaction, right? The same conversation with my clients, majority of the time, it's like, hey, I never, ever have a problem having a client not accept the highest offer, right? Because number one, we can't get it to praise. I don't know who this person is. They didn't even send me a pre-approval letter. Come on, guys. Where's your pre-approval letter? Once again, small details, right? I tell my client that they didn't send me a pre-approval letter, right? The lender didn't call me, okay? I don't even know what type of financing it is, okay? So, there's mistakes on the purchase and sales agreement or offer form or letter of intent, whatever you guys use, right? So it's these little details. Hey, I know this person can get us there, right? So I think that we should probably push this person. Do you mind if I have a conversation? If I can get them up to match that offer, are you cool with that? Absolutely. Right? They're trusting in us, especially on the listing side. Listings are hard to get, right? When you get those listings, there's a lot of trust there, right? And in Melanie's situation, right, it's not always getting you the most amount of money, okay? Sometimes it's the terms, right? This person can close sooner. This is a cash offer. No appraisal, right? We can close in 21 days. Is that important to you, Jim? Maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe not. Maybe like, no, I don't want to close in 21 days. I want to close in 60 days.
Yeah.
Right. I just want a young family living there. Right. So we talk about love letters, right? I'm not sure if you guys heard of love letters, right? The National Association of Realtors is telling us not to use them anymore because it can be used as discrimination, right? But there's a lot of people selling houses and it's very emotional, right? I literally just got that offer accepted we were talking about earlier, where I was the worst offer, right? The other realtor said, hey, can you tell me a little bit about your clients? Okay. And because it was an emotional transaction, they owned that house for 50 years. Once again, it wasn't the dollar amount. It was a realtor that was going to get the deal done. I literally went to that listing agent and I said, I will pay you this much. And she said, no, that's too much. The listing agent said, that's too much. Nick, we're not going to get to appraise that high. right? It was like 5,000. So she was like, cut me down 5,000. I'm like, all right, they fine, right? My clients thought I was a superstar. I got it for $5,000 less, right? But the listing agent was like, no, it's not what it's all about. And that's a good listing agent right there, because it's not always about that dollar amount, right? There's other things we got to take into consideration. You know, the agent getting us to the end line, right? The lender actually taking the effort to call them up and say, hey, this is why they're a good buyer. Hey, I pulled all their documents. They're qualified for this much. They've got really good this and that, right? These are good buyers. Like, that goes a long ways with me, right? Because I know going out throughout that transaction that this lender is going to be easy to work with, because they took 2 minutes out of their life to call me. A simple little task like that. All right. I called up this realtor and I said, hey, just want to let you know I just emailed you my offer. This is what it is. All right. These are great buyers. I absolutely love the house. I promise you the highest level of professionalism working with myself. Okay. And the realtor's like, what? Nobody else calls me and doing that. Right. Once again, sometimes it's those terms, right? And you are the guiding force there, right? You're the person that's there to get them the most amount of money. And the most amount of money is closing the damn deal, right? Because if we have to hold on to this thing now for an extra 60 days, because we got to put this thing back in the market because financing fell through, right? The realtor's non-responsive. You know, I don't want to sue you for your deposit. We just want to close this thing. And the most amount of money sometimes is those lower offers, right? Or the easiest transaction. You get to the appraisal and it doesn't appraise by $50,000. Now you're like, man, I should have taken that other offer. You know what I'm saying? So any other questions in regards to that?
I got a
I have
question.
one, but it's a bit different. So I'm a brand new agent. Even if I don't have a client yet, because I'm trying to learn more stuff. But when I have one, how the other agents are gonna feel related to me if they don't know me yet? Well, that's my concern.
75% of the agents that I run into on a daily basis, I don't know who they are, right? The reality is, you know, if you have a coach, have a conversation with them. If you know another agent in the office, have a conversation, be like, hey, do you know this person? Because that can definitely help. Or just be honest. Like, hey, man, I'm a brand new agent. I would rather you be like, hey, I'm a brand new agent, right? I'm going to do everything I can to put this thing together. If you can guide me, help me anyway, you know what? I'll work with you, right? That goes a long ways. Right? If you don't have a coach, right, that can vouch for you, right, and make sure that everything is going to go properly, right, then at least be honest with that. All right. And it's always a good idea to tell them, be like, hey, listen, you know, I've got a coach. They're going to be reviewing everything that I do, right, throughout this whole process. Right. And that's one of the great things about Keller Williams is we have such support here. It's outrageous, right? Technology, these classes. All right, you have somebody to guide you, watch you, answer your questions. Keller Williams is the third company that I've worked for. The first one, nothing, right? Small mom and pop shop, nothing. Next office was a large company, one of the biggest in New England. All right, very little support, okay? I learned the business by myself, on my own, on YouTube, right? That's why when it came over here, I was like, that's not happening anymore. Right. I took an Ignite class and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. Go ahead, Jim.
I don't have any clients yet, but I've been talking to people and a couple people I know have said, well, you're brand new, why would I go with you? And they're just kind of, feeling me out. And I said, well, I am brand new, but I've got a network of worldwide specialists that I can lean on to help me with anything. Like worldwide, we've got a network of specialists that if I don't have the answer, they can step in and help me out.
Yeah, and Keller Williams is recognized. Like people in the industry know Keller Williams and they know that we have tons and tons of training and we're well educated and we have that support. So even if they don't know you, they know that Keller Williams knows what they're doing and they have people to help them. And just to echo back to, is it Lourdes? You can represent yourself in such a way that they would never know that you're new also. So like Nick said, I don't know most of the agents that I end up doing business with, But when I put in an offer, I put together a very professional email. You know, I do a nice summary. When I send in my offer package, it's very organized. I have all the pages. So you just have to represent yourself as a professional and don't let the fact that you're new get in your head.
So my coaching program, I've got 85 people in it. I run it like a team. All right. We're a team here. Melanie is on my team. She's in my coaching program. She's also one of my coaches. We're a team, right? So I always tell my new agents, right? You've got over 35 years experience because you've got me, Melanie. It's more than, we've got hundreds of years experience with the people, like the coaches that I have in my coaching program, right? You've got all that experience. You're not doing it on your own. Number one, right? Number two, most people don't ask that question, right? A lot of people don't even ask that question. And the number one reason that an agent gets fired is a lack of communication. I don't care if you've been in the business for 50 years or one day, right? That one day person could have better communication than that 50-year veteran. And it usually is the case, right? If you've been in the business for 30, 40, 50 years, Melanie knows this, right? You guys will learn this. They don't know what the hell they're doing, right? The number of years in this business means absolutely jack shit, right? Especially if you're with KW and you have the support that you guys have here. You got a crew, you got people to look over your transactions, to help you out through that whole process. All right, which is a huge thing. As long as you pick up the phone, respond to text messages, that's what's important. Okay, I tell agents, if you work for Keller Williams, you don't need to know shit about real estate to be successful, right? Because I know every question that you're going to have, I either know it or know where to get the answer, right? Same thing with Melanie, who's one of my coaches. All right, all my coaches, they have access to everything they could ever need, which is absolutely huge. So don't be afraid that you guys are brand new agents. You can't go out there and do this and people can expect that. All right. And another point too, when I got in this business, I was in my 20s. I looked like I was 16 years old. Okay. When I got in this business, all right, over 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago, the average real estate agent in the state of Rhode Island was a 50-year-old woman. Okay. And I was like in my young 20s and I looked like a baby. And I would do listing presentations. And at the end of my listing presentation, I always said, so what'd you think when I walked up first? Because I knew, because I could see them cringing like, oh, what the hell did I get myself into? Who the hell is this child that's coming up here to tell me how they're going to sell the house? And I got the listing and they're like, man, I was freaking out. I thought you were like a baby, right? Right. The reason why I was able to get those, even though I had no experience, I didn't know what I was doing, was because I was hungry. All right. And that's a big part. So Jim, why should I use you? Because I'm hungry, right? I just got my license. All right. I've got an awesome education, an awesome team that I'm working with, and I want this more than anybody else. And I got way more time. Jim, you have way more time than me. Jim, I work 80 hours a week. All right. I Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I coach from 7 a.m. to like 8 o'clock at night. Okay. I run my commercial and my real estate business Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm also flipping a house and I own like 14 investment properties. Okay. I don't have the time that Jim has. Jim has way more time than me. Okay. I might have more experience than Jim because I've been in the business a long time, sold a lot of houses. Guaranteed you're going to get a better you're going to get a better service out of Jim than me. No one can get a hold of me for the next 3 hours because I'm gonna be coaching, right? They could probably call Jim and he could turn off his screen and he can pick up the phone, right? So that's the type of stuff that you need to, like, when people come at you, be like, listen, it doesn't matter how much time I've been in this business. It's how bad I want it. And it's the crew that I got behind me to help me through the whole process. You're not doing this alone. You're doing it with your coach. You're doing it with your team leader. You're doing it with your OP, your broker, you know, your top producers are going to be there helping you. And that's what's amazing about Keller Williams is you've got that support. Jim, I'm sorry to go off on you.
Start talking with
Appreciate it.
Go ahead, say that again, Ludus.
The thing is, start talking with someone in approaching to get the lead. I feel nervous. I still don't feel the confidence to get a lead. I wanted to start out there, but I don't know how, because I still don't feel the confidence. That's the thing.
It's So listen, Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player to ever live. Okay. He didn't make the varsity team his freshman year. Okay. He also, when he was at his prime, he was practicing 8 hours a day to play a 1 hour game. Okay. The key to this is practice. Practice, 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 practice. All right. The more conversations you have, the more time you spent role playing, right? Find somebody in the office. I promise you guys, come into the office. You will get so much more if you come into the office. My top producers out of my 85 people in my coaching program are the ones that are in the office. Why? Because Melanie's there. Because I'm there. My other coaches are there. And they can go in there and they can role play. All right. I tell every single person, call me anytime you want. Rita, you're one of my agents. Rita, call me anytime you want to role play with me. Call me up and be like, hey, is this Nick? This is Rita from Keller, right? Practice. All right. The more you guys do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel. All right. I have taught this class 50 times. I know it from start to finish. I can go all over the place with this class, right? I love negotiations. Okay. I practiced. The first time I took it or I taught it, I was terrified. I was like super nervous. Like, oh, what if they ask me a question? I don't know how to answer it. Right. Practice, 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 practice. You know what I mean? So just keep trying it. And then also remember, what's the worst that could happen? Right? What is the worst that could happen if you call somebody and ask them who they know looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? They know somebody, or they say, I don't know anybody. Or like you sound like a jackass. Oh, I totally screwed up that phone call. Well, you know what? You made the attempt, so you won. Right? If you don't make the attempt, if you don't try, right, then you're going to be in the same place, all right, as if you did try and you didn't get anything. So what does it matter? Right? So don't be afraid of that. And most people are generally nice. Just remember that too. That was somebody told me that a long time ago. In general, people are nice. If you watch the news, you're like, man, this is a terrible world that we live in. But the reality is that most people are nice. I guarantee most people on here are nice. If I call one of you guys up and I say, hey, listen, can you help me with something? If you call a family member and you say, hey, can you help me with something? What's the likelihood they're going to be like, nah, I'm good. They're probably going to want to help you. Hey, listen, I'm trying to build my real estate business. All right. I'm looking for people looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate. Do you happen to know anybody? I want to help 25 families this year sell a house, buy their dream house. Can you help me with that? Okay. The reality is people are going to help you. Right. But it's a numbers game. The more people you talk to, more opportunities you're going to have. Right. So just get on the phone, make those phone calls, get on social media, do what you got to do. I hope that answers your question and kind of encourages you guys a little bit. So
Hey,
back
Nick,
to negotiations. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to sidetrack you too much, but a quick question. Because we're in such a seller's market, let's say you have a listing and the client is just so focused on the amount of money they're going to get. They're not really taking your advice. Let's say a bunch of offers come in and they're just like, this is the one, look at all the money, but they're not listening to your advice on this is a better offer for this reason. How do you handle that?
Hey, let's go with it. We'll take the highest offer and let's see what happens. We'll roll that dice. And when it comes back and bites you in the ass, and be like, listen, this is why I was telling you we should choose this. Right? At the end of the day, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. All right. My advice is to do this. Okay. It doesn't mean my clients are going to listen every single time. And if they choose not to, right, 90% of the time, the first offer you get is going to be the best offer. Right. And people like to float it around and see what happens. Then you lose that offer. And then, I tell people we're gambling. We're gambling by doing this. If you want to gamble, I'm down. I love gambling. That's part of negotiations, is gambling. If we ever get back to talking about negotiations, it's gambling right there, right? I'm throwing the dice right there. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So, any other questions before we jump back into this? And by the way, these are amazing questions you guys are asking. So I'm so glad you're asking them. All right. So we're going to talk about some negotiation tips right now. And I want to dive into how some of this stuff looks, right? Some of you guys at the end of this conversation are not going to like me. And you're not going to want to negotiate against me, right? But at least you'll know what's coming at you. All right. So in negotiations, all right, there's a couple different ways that this works. We just talked about rolling the dice. Okay, I'm rolling the dice. So on the buyer side, let's talk about buyers quick, right? On the buyer's side, all right, what are you willing to lose this house for? Okay, what are you willing to lose this house for? Right, some buyers are like, I don't want to, no, you know, they don't even want to give me the most they'll pay for it. I'm like, let me know what the most is you want to pay for it, and then let me go to bat. All right, so it's a $200,000 house. Hey, I'll pay $225,000. All right, my goal now is in negotiations to get it for less than $225,000 for that client. They're willing to pay $225,000. It's listed at $200,000. I'm going to try and get it for less than $225,000. If I get it for $220,000, I look like a rock star. Or it's a win, right? We'll say it's a win. If I get it for $205,000, I'm a rock star. All right. So sometimes we roll the dice. All right. I'll go in, I'll submit an offer a little bit less than the $225,000, right? Because I'm trying to win for my client. I'm trying to negotiate. Okay. All right. If the agent calls highest and best, that's out. Right. If highest and best is called, they've got multiple offers, we're in a situation, right? That's why the first question I ask of the other realtor before I start negotiations is, hey, how many offers do you have? You should always ask that question. How many offers do you have? All right, because that's going to affect how I attack these negotiations and submit offers, right? So if you've got multiple, all right, I'm probably going to have to just go in my highest, okay? But there are some words that realtors may say that can manipulate the situation. So as a certified negotiation specialist, there's certain things that I do to manipulate the situation. All right, I do not lie, guys. I do not lie. I manipulate. That's what we do in negotiations. So Trevor, you call me up and you say, hey, Nick, do you have any offers on this property? Right?
Okay.
I don't have any yet, but I'm expecting multiple. Are you going to pay list price, or you're going to pay a little bit more?
Well, I don't
have
know
any
if he's-
offers yet, but I'm expecting a bunch of offers this afternoon.
No offers yet means he's probably BSing me, would be my guess.
So what are you going to do? You're going to submit full price, or you're going to submit above asking price?
Well, I mean, I would look at the market in the area and how things are going. If everything's going over asking, I would probably suggest a little bit at least.
Right now.
I would probably suggest a little bit to start.
All right. So you already think I'm bullshitting you.
Possibly.
Okay. The reality is, and I'm glad you picked up on that, I could be. All right. So the manipulation right there, I shouldn't have told you I was going to manipulate you first, because otherwise you probably would have had a different response. Right. But the manipulation there is that, Trevor, you're the only person I showed this house to.
Mhm.
I only showed it to one person. No one has reached out to me and said they're giving me offers. No one. Did I lie? I don't have any offers yet, but I'm expecting a bunch of offers.
No, you didn't lie.
I didn't lie, because the reality is I'm expecting a bunch of offers on every listing that I take, right? Every single time I list a house, I'm expecting multiple offers. Okay. So I manipulated that situation. And a lot of agents, 90% of agents, they send me like a ridiculous offer at that point in time. Okay. All right. Also, how many offers do you have? I got a bunch. What's a bunch of offers? What is a bunch? What does a bunch mean?
More than one.
More than one. I have 2 offers, right? A bunch, somebody else, they're like, oh man, they got like 10, 15 offers. What's a bunch? 20 offers, 40 offers, right? If I have 40 offers, I'm going to tell you, I'm like, I got 40 offers so far. No, that's not a good idea either, because then I'm going to freak you out, right? What if the buyer's like 40 offers? I'm not putting in an offer. Right? Now I could have lost a really good offer. They could have come in. They were maybe a cash buyer, right? So I say, I got a few offers, right? How many do you have? I'm not sure yet. All right. Got a handful of offers, right? But at the same time, right, you don't want to say, hey, how many offers do you have, Trevor? And Trevor's like, oh, I got 6 offers. I got a bunch of offers, right? The reality is he has no offers, right? You don't want to push it to that limit and lie and be like, I don't, because that's when you really roll the dice And the reality is that the realtor on the other side, they could be lying to you. Do you have any
Or-
offers?
or you
Yes, I
could
have
s-
6 offers.
Or I could say this, oh, I don't know, but I'm gonna be up all night. That doesn't mean I'm checking out offers.
Exactly, right? Once again, you're manipulating the situation a little bit. Okay. So there's a lot of different things that could happen right there, okay, in that situation, right? And me as a negotiation specialist, it's my job to manipulate the other side, get them to do what I think they need to, what they think they need to do, even though that might not be the case. Now, I saw somebody had a hand up.
That would, Carol.
Carol, go ahead.
I did too.
I was just curious, Nick, if the situation were reversed and with Trevor and you were the one that made those comments, Trevor made those comments to you that, you know, about the number of offers and stuff, how would you respond as the buyer's agent?
If
Nick, can I
Trevor,
take it? Nick,
go ahead, Melanie.
Can I take it? This is one of my favorites. So this is, I tell all of my agents this, when you're putting in offers right now, it's very, very difficult to get a buyer under contract right now. Okay. And so your job as a buyer's agent, yes, is to help them walk through the process. But part of negotiating, a very important part of negotiating, is understanding what's important to the other side, right? Because if I'm just negotiating what I think might be is most important, I could be wrong. So when I'm calling an agent that I'm submitting an offer on, I'll call, introduce myself. I'm very friendly. I'll try to make a little joke about something so I can create some type of connection with the agent on the other end. And then I say, you know, my client came to 123 Main Street. They really adored the property. Thank you for being so kind while we were there. I just had a couple of questions if you have a second. Yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm assuming you already probably have offers, right? Because I'm trying to like create a good rapport with this other agent. And if they say, well, you know, we don't have any right now, but we are expecting some to come in. Okay, great. Is there a certain time frame that you're trying to make a decision in? Like, when are the sellers going to review them? They'll answer that. Awesome. Okay. What is most important to your seller? I mean, I know in this market, it's price and all of that and typical things that we need to put in the offer, but is there anything in particular? Do they need more time to find a house? Is it that they, you know, may not necessarily want to do repairs? Kind of what's most important? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to answer you. Now, every once in a while, you'll have an agent that's like, oh, you know, just put in the best offer you can, and that's fine. But you have to at least attempt to ask some questions, right? And it's just like when you're talking to a new client or a potential client, the more information that you can get, the easier it is for you to negotiate on terms that matter to the transaction. So I would ask a bunch of questions.
Would it be fair to ask, or, you know, would it be fair to ask, you know, you say you've got X number of offers. Is there anything that you're not seeing that you wanted to see?
That's
those
awesome, Jim. I love that. Yes, super good question.
You can
And I'll
ask
just
any
say-
question, guys. You can ask any question you want. You can ask, what is the other offer?
Right.
Right? You can ask, why are they selling? Code of ethics, guys, by the way, you're not supposed to tell them why they're selling. Don't tell them it's a divorce. Listing side, we shouldn't be doing that. But agents, they spill the beans all the time. Why are they selling? Oh, it's a divorce. Yes. That means they have to sell this damn thing. Right?
Yeah. And they may not always answer everything, but you just ask questions, as many as you can, until they tell you that they don't want to talk to you anymore.
So I see Nina's got her hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, I don't know. Can you hear me? Because I'm on
Yes.
my, okay. So during one of my listings, I actually, not one of my listings, it was my only listing. Who am I kidding? I had an agent, actually it was more than one agent that came, that asked me, you know, how many offers that I had. And I said multiple, because I did have multiple offers. And then he said, oh, okay, they don't really want to be competing. So, and then he never submitted an offer.
So that's back to rolling the dice, right, guys? So if you're going to lie, that's when you get burned. All right. So I'm going to talk about rolling the dice a little bit more here, but yeah, I mean, there are buyers that are not interested in that. So that's why you got to be cautious, right? We're so used to multiple offers, everybody's submitting offers, but not everybody wants to do that. So back a few years ago, right, when we were getting 1 or 2 offers, if you said, yeah, we have another offer, there was a chance they could back out. So sometimes we had to wrap it up and be like, hey, we have another offer, it's not that great, right? To be really cautious with it. Or you say, yeah, we have another offer, but if the other offer sucks anyways, then it can definitely hurt you. So in that situation, you probably had multiple offers, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, that's just like my example earlier. That could have been the best offer that you had, and they just didn't want to submit it because they didn't want to deal with that craziness, which everybody's dealing with now. So
What would you have recommended saying? I mean, it was fine because we did end up with a really great offer, but
I would have done exactly what you did. I would have done exactly what you did. I would have said, hey, we got multiple offers, especially if you've got like good offers. Like if I have 4 offers and like 3 of them or all 4 are like acceptable offers, oh man, I will roll the dice all day long. I will push them and pry them to avoid this and do that and do whatever. Cause I know that if one of them gets freaked out and backs out, I've got 3 other. So I wouldn't stress out over it too much. It happens to me on a regular basis. I have people every single day, I'm sure Melanie does too, like, oh yeah, I'm submitting an offer. I never ever get one. So, I mean, so I wouldn't stress too much about it in this market. But if you have one other offer, then you should be cautious with it. And if you say, yeah, I've got one offer, and they're like, oh, never mind, they don't want to compete, you might have to call them up and be like, hey, listen, I know that I told you I have one offer, but it's not that great. If you guys want to submit something, we might be able to work this out. Like sometimes you just got to work it a little bit. So any other questions? I see Trevor's got his hand up.
Do you find that the best agents to work with are more likely to give you feedback that you're looking for versus inexperienced agents are afraid to tell you something they're not sure what they should be saying?
I would rather work with someone who's talking to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation because, a really good agent could be extremely busy. They could put 20 offers in today and maybe they didn't have the communication that they typically would. So I think that's a case by case scenario. But I prefer to, it depends. Like if you're asking me too many questions, I'm like, not going to work with you. If you tell me that your client, if like I'm at a showing and you spill the beans as a buyer's agent, you're like, yeah, my client, that this is the 3rd offer they're going to be putting in on this house. The other 2 they backed out because of inspections. Ain't no chance I'm picking your offer. So it depends on what that communication is, but every situation is a little bit different. Does anybody else have any questions? I know I had a couple hands up. If you do, speak up. All right, cool. So we're going to keep moving on here. All right. So back to negotiations. All right. So back to rolling the dice. All right. In some situations, right, you might have like 2 or 3 offers. All right. What if 2 of them are crap? Right? What do we do at that point in time? So I've got a house that's listed at 250. I have an offer of 240. All right. And an offer of 245 and an offer of 260. Okay. Now my clients really want 270 for it. Right. So what I can do is I can actually go back to the other offer, the highest offer. I can go back to the lower offers and be like, hey, I've got multiple offers. Are you guys willing to up your offer at all? If they're like, no, we're not moving, we leave them there. Now we have the one offer that's left. Now, what we can go to them, and this is a serious rolling the dice, right? We can go back to that person and say, hey, listen. All right. So Trevor, hey, we work at Keller Williams together. Let's keep this between the family. All right. Let's keep the red going here. And you're the one that has that 260 offer. Hey, Trevor, if you can come up to 270, I won't even negotiate with the other 2. Right? I really want to work with you, Trevor. If you come up to the 270, all right, we can make this thing work.
Sounds great to me. Let me check with the client.
Once again, I manipulated you. All right, say, hey, listen, Trevor, I want to work with you. I don't want to really work with the other realtor. I really want to work with you. If you can come to 270, we can lock this thing up. All right. I just gave you, I just manipulated the situation to make it sound as though the other offer was 270. All right. And I made Trevor feel really good about himself. All right.
Yeah.
Which, guys, real estate egos, we have them. We love having our egos stroked. Okay. So if you can tell somebody, hey, listen, all right, if you can come up to 270, we can lock this up. I'll work with you, Trevor. Okay. Now Trevor's thinking that I've got that 270. Once again, we're manipulating the perception here, and Trevor decides to go with us. Did I lie to Trevor? Melanie's got a really straight face, like she's mad at me. Okay. Did I lie to Trevor?
No, and I agree with you. I negotiate every offer because that's my job. When I'm presenting offers to my clients, to me, it's not just handing them all the paperwork and saying, here you go. No, I'm going to talk to everybody that submits an offer and try to get it as best as I can before I even present it to my clients.
So in that situation, I negotiated with the 2, they wouldn't go up. So I went with the 1. But Melanie, you have to be careful there too, because now if I try to push Trevor and Trevor backs out, now I just lost my client a ton of money.
Yeah, no, there's a certain way to position it. It's
So you
more
got
of
to
a
make
back-
sure that you position yourself properly in that situation. So this exact thing happened to me, just so you guys know. I had an agent. I love the kid. He was a great kid. The first transaction he ever did was with me. And I had 2 crap offers, and I manipulated the situation so that he thought he had to match. I was like, dude, I just want to work with you, John. Right. And he was like, okay. And he bumped it up. Right. In that case, we were good. If he had said, no, we're good and we're out, my client would have just lost $10,000, $20,000. Right. So I always make sure that I present to my clients, hey, listen, I would like to see if I can bump them up a little bit, but there's always the chance they could back out. All right. And if my client's good with it, then we rock with it. If they're not, then I would have just stayed at that 210 or the 260. Okay. In this case, I took this guy for a ride. He was like, I love Nick. He's somebody I look up to, right? I want to work with Nick. Nick wants to work with me. That makes me feel special. And this guy's a top producer, by the way. And he was a top producer then, right? He's been in the business, not as long as me, but you know, he was a top producer at that point in time. All right. I took him for a ride. His client paid $30,000 more than the second highest offer. Okay. At the end of the day, do you think that other realtor, John, thinks I'm an asshole? No. Why? Why do you, Trevor, why are you nodding your head? No. Why do you think he doesn't think I'm an asshole?
Because he just got a great learning experience from you.
No, he didn't.
Well, he learned what not to do next time.
No, he didn't.
No?
I never showed him my hand.
Oh,
Because
His clients got the house.
They wanted.
His clients got the house. He got his commission at the end of the day. He has no idea. The reason why I'm telling you guys this story is back to what we were talking about earlier. The realtor on the other side, they could be straight up lying to you. They could be manipulating the situation. They could be negotiating at a high level. Like, we don't know, right, what's really happening on the other side, right? You see a house that's been on market, foreclosure, it's been on the market for 60 days. You submit an offer and they email you, highest and best, due Monday. Well, that means there's other offers. There was no other offer. Now you're just bidding against yourself, right? And we don't know that. But once again, back to that question I asked earlier of my buyer, what are you willing to lose the property for? Okay. We can go in at full price, but you may lose the property. No, let's just do the 260. They get it for 260. Who cares at the end of the day? They are happy with it. They are moving forward. You're happy. You got your commission, right? And that's what it's all about. That's what the real estate transaction is about. It's about getting to the end game, right? But it's those tips right there. It's negotiations, right? That work it. Hey, listen, you know, and that's part of my negotiation strategy. Hey, I really want to work with you, Trevor. Hey, I really want to work with you, Jim, right? And I might even pin offers against each other, right? I just bought a house. And I know that they were pinning me. I put in 5 offers, 5 different houses, all separately, not at the same time. Don't do that, guys. Right? But 5 different offers. I got denied on the first 4 and I got the 5th one. But they were using me as bait. They were fishing with me. We call it fishing with me. They were taking my offer because I was the only offer. That was the first offer, right? Because I'm quick. Right. And they fished me around and they got somebody to pay a little bit more. Right. And that's what a good negotiation expert's going to do. On the listing side, right? You're going to take that offer. And that's what Melanie said. I'm going to negotiate with everybody. If you have 20 offers, why not negotiate with all 20? right? Don't just cut some of them out and be like, oh, we didn't choose your offer. I have realtors on a regular basis. They're like, oh no, I don't do that. What do you mean you don't negotiate? The hell's wrong with you? It's our job, right? You're the listing agent. You're supposed to negotiate. You're supposed to get the best term for your client. Don't tell me, oh, I don't do that. We just take the highest offer we get, right? You just screwed your client out of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. You just screwed them out of voiding inspections. You just screwed them out of appraisal gaps, right? That's why we negotiate. And that's why I get 6%. That's why Melanie gets 6%. Because we do that for our clients. We look out for their best interests. We're not just going to fold over and just take whatever lands in our lap. We're going to work it. If I get one offer, I'm likely going to go back and see if I can get them to give me more. Okay. That's how I get that 6%. That's how I'm going to get you an extra $20,000, $30,000. Okay. Where's Mary at? Right. Back to the story at the beginning of the class, right? When Mary's like, oh, $16,000. I just got you $20,000 right there. Okay. And when you guys do that in a negotiation, right, your confidence is going to go through the roof. And every time you talk to a seller about commission, you're going to remember that situation and you're going to be like, this is what I do. All right. Get my clients more by doing this. Right. On the buyer's side, okay, there's an incredible tool that I absolutely hate when I'm on the selling side, but not on the buyer side. You guys know what that is that protects our clients in these situations?
Escalation clause.
An escalation clause. 4 years ago, somebody sent me an escalation clause. I said, what the hell is this thing? I've never seen one of these before. I called my mentor for any of my agents here, Pete Dufresne. I called him up. I was like, what the hell is an escalation clause? What the hell does this mean? And he goes, oh, we don't take those. Right? Ignite, the old Ignite had escalation clauses in it. And I purposely did not teach it. Escalation clauses, they're no good. Right? An escalation clause basically makes that listing agent show their hand. If we accept your offer, you have to show us the offer that made it higher. In that situation earlier, John would have been like, hey, dude, we'll pay you the $270, but you got to show me that other offer. Now I'm screwed because my other offer was terrible. Right? That's why listing agents hate them. Right? A lot of the old school agents in the state of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, because I've been seeing them there, right? They don't accept them. Oh, that's not right. Right? Trevor submits an escalation clause, but Jim doesn't. So that's not right for Jim. That's not why they're saying that. They're saying that because it takes away their negotiation power. That manipulation, you can't do it anymore. I hate escalation clauses on the listing side, right? But on the buyer side, let's see, let's see the cards. You got to show me those cards, right? So it's a strong thing, but make sure the listing agent takes them too. That's why having a conversation is important. Hey, do you accept escalation clauses? No, I don't. I don't believe in them. Okay, not going to send you one because somebody else sends in an escalation clause and it escalates way above yours. They're like, I'm not reading it. Okay. And then their offer gets beat out, right? Because they didn't have that conversation. Right? So escalation clauses are a big thing. All right.
So
any questions in regards to that? Go ahead.
you can say you don't accept escalation clauses. You can just say we don't deal with those.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Well,
I've seen it in MLS that way.
Yeah, the agents can, it's the seller. It's not you guys as the realtor.
I was just
right?
gonna say that. Yeah.
The seller has to be, the seller is not willing to negotiate with anybody that submits an escalation clause. I mean, the reality is that they get that information from us.
Right.
Just like a seller could say, all offers the buyers have to get pre-approved through this specific lender. We can't say that, but our sellers can. Right? Doesn't mean they have to use that lender, but they have to get pre-approved through them. Right? Offers have to be submitted on a purchase and sales agreement. We can't really force that, but if the seller says that's the way it is, well, you'd be an idiot not to do it. Right? Because they want to see it on a purchase and sales agreement. Purchase and sales has all the details in it, as opposed to a letter of intent or an offer that's a one-page document that doesn't have a whole bunch of information on it. Okay? Let me see, what's the next slide? All right, so we're going to dive into the 3 Ps approach of negotiations. Very different than the 3 Ps that Melanie was talking about earlier. All right. Prepare, present, position. Okay. And this goes on both sides. All right. Negotiating can be learned, guys. There's no rocket science to what we do. Okay. The more you educate yourself, the more you listen to the top producers, go pick their brain. How do they negotiate? Right. The more you're going to learn different steps that have to go with every aspect here in the preparation, in the presentation, in the positioning of your offers. Okay. Prepare. This isn't super vital. All right. Know your goal. What are you willing to lose the house for? Okay. How much, how badly do you need to sell this thing? All right. All right. Know your clients. All right. Have a buyer consultation with your clients, your buyers. Get to know them. Listing presence, get to know them. Find out what makes them tick. What's important to them? Money, terms, right? Close date, speed, right? All right. Think ahead. Think ahead of some stuff that could happen, right? Set expectations. Okay. All right. Let your clients know the situation. Hey, I'm expecting to get multiple offers. Every client right now, I'm expecting to get multiple offers. I close all my houses in 5 days. On the listing side, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? I need to move 50 years of shit out of my house. Okay. I need 60 days. All right. As opposed to somebody that's like, yeah, look, it's vacant. Let's do this thing. All right. Be informed. Right? Why are your clients selling? What's important to your clients? How many offers do you have? Right? When would your clients like to close? Okay. Hey, do you know of anything that needs to be repaired around here? Right? Do a tour, look at stuff, be visual. All right. Obey the laws. Guys, I'm a Rhode Island real estate agent. I do Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut. All right. I don't know all the laws in New Hampshire, Maine, all right, Vermont, New York, wherever the hell you guys are all coming from, right? I don't know all those laws there, right? So make sure you obey your local laws, all right? And know the documents inside and out, right? I've been a coach for 6 years, coaching brand new agents for 6 years, all right? I created a video document library. My agents can watch every single document 50 times over again. None of them do it, right? Learn the documents, know the documents before you guys get into a transaction. If you guys are nervous, learn the documents. It's very important. It's gonna help you guys throughout the process. Know the offers. If you guys don't understand what stuff means, ask your coach, ask your team leader, ask your broker, owner, OP, right? They'll answer those questions for you. Right. Nina, do you have a question or you just your hand up from earlier? I can see her on the screen. I see her hand. It's just like sitting there. I'm like calling her.
It was up when she asked her last question.
Okay. All right. In regards to preparing, right? Ask open-ended questions. And this is for all sides, guys, right? All right. So when do you want to sell? Or when do you want to close? When does the seller want to close? Okay. What if we close earlier? Is that going to affect if we close earlier? All right. My client, what is that going to do for you? Oh, if we close earlier, I don't have to make another payment. Right? I don't want to pay I don't want to make an association fee again. Right? I'll be able to buy my next house sooner, right? Ask those questions. Okay. We also want to ask close-ended questions. So open-end questions, they go on and on and on and on forever and ever and ever, right? We get a lot of information. The reality is, right, guys, is questioning. Asking questions is so important, right? If you don't know information, how are you going to negotiate? Not every buyer or seller is the same. So you got to ask those questions, get information, right? But we also want to ask those closed-ended questions, right? If we don't sell, all right, is that going to be okay with you? Yeah, I'm not in a rush. No, I have to sell. If we don't get you, right, $50,000 for your next purchase, can you move forward? No, I can't. Right? So we want to ask questions, right? And we're going to ask everybody. Back to that first slide, who are we negotiating with? If you're the buyer's agent, you're talking to the buyer, you're talking to the listing agent. Okay? Talk to those people, ask them questions. Talk to your lender. right? Back to being informed, can the buyer go that high? Can the buyer put more down? Right? What strategies can they do? Can we put not 20% down, maybe put 5% down and add money towards gap coverage? Okay. Can we rearrange things? All right. How handy are you? Right? Oh, I'm a contractor. Are you willing to do inspections for information purposes only? Are you willing to replace a heating system if that pops up? Yes. Right? Now you know when you go into negotiations what you can attack. Okay? What would happen if you don't get this house? Right? What would happen if the buyer backs out because of a septic system that failed? Well, that would be terrible, right? We would probably fix it, right? It's good information to have. I literally was at that inspection and I'm having like the most vague conversation you could ever see in your life with the other realtor. It's me and another experienced, really good realtor. We're having these conversations and it's like, so the septic system failed. Not saying anything. Let me see what the listing agent says. She's like, okay, well, you know, I've been in touch with the seller, you know, we understand that's an issue. Okay, well, my clients, you know, they're probably not going to be able to move forward if it doesn't get fixed. Well, you know, I might be able to get my client to fix it, right? Like that was that conversation going back and forth vaguely till it got to the point where it was like, BJ, are they going to replace the septic system? And she's like, Nick, if we replace the septic system, will your clients move forward? Right? We started off slow, you know, just trying to get to know each other, right? Before we put those boxing gloves on, right? We both had our boxing gloves on and neither of us threw a punch, right? We ended up hugging at the end. It was really great, right? Right? And that was through that slow conversation, asking these questions, right? That's another one too. What is important to you, right? What's important to you as your client, right? Closing sooner. I will pay an extra $10,000 if we can close. I am pregnant, about to burst. I need a house to live now. I don't care. I'll do anything. What do they want? Let's do it. Right? That's going to change the preparation, right? It's going to change the presentation and the position too. Okay. We kind of already hammered this one. We'll move on. All right. Present. This is important, guys. As newer agents, listen, this is important here. Make sure you guys don't look like jackasses when you submit your offers. All right. Key points here. Make sure that your contracts are reviewed by an experienced agent. Okay. Make sure you have a pre-approval letter attached. Don't send me an offer without a pre-approval. Come on, that's nothing. It's a waste of my time. Disclosures, I want them executed. If you got a love letter, throw it in there. A tip, if you want to throw in a love letter to make sure that the seller gets it, send them one PDF package. The first thing on there is the love letter, then the offer, then the pre-approval, then the disclosures, one PDF. So when they send it to their client, they can't, what's the likelihood that I'm going to sit there and pull apart the PDF so that I can just send them the, not going to happen. I'm going to send it right over. Okay. All right. Got to get that stuff in there. Have a phone call with them too. This is huge. All right. Pay attention to verbal and nonverbal cues. All right. So Jim, you got a house listed at $200,000. Hey Jim, it's Nick Geiser here, present an offer. My offer is 150. You're on mute, but I'm going to take the silence as a uh-oh. All right, Jim, hey, you got a house list of 200. Hey, Jim, submit an offer right now. It's $150,000.
Nick, great talking to you.
Right.
I gotta go. I got someone on the other line that I think they're making an offer.
Right. What the hell? Are you kidding me? Trevor, unmute yourself. Trevor, you got that house listed at 200. Hey, I'm submitting an offer right now. I'm submitting an offer, cash offer, 300,000.
That's great. We'll take a look at it.
Wow, he gave me like no verbal cues there. Dude, you have it listed at $200,000. I'm offering you 300 cash.
Well, we've had some other great offers
Oh,
just
you're
like
pain in
this.
the ass, Trevor. You're being a pain in the ass. Dude, I'd be screaming, be like, woo!
All right, let's do this.
Let's do it. Yeah, send that shit over right now.
Can we
300
meet
cash
in
offer.
30 minutes?
Let's do it. Yeah, right. We'll close tomorrow. Right? Verbal cues, they're important. What? All right. Once again, hey Jim, I'm offering 150, right? And what did you say to me? You're like, I'm out.
Nick, that sounds great. You know, I'd love to work with you. I got a couple other offers. Well, I got a bunch of offers I expect to be looking at this afternoon. So, you know.
Now I submit an
wanna send it
offer,
over.
right? I submit an offer at list price, right? And you're like, all right, well, you know, and you sit there, be quiet, listen what they say. Hey, listen, my clients are paying cash. They're willing to pay full price, no inspections. Sit back and listen. Hey, you know what? The agent comes back to like, you know, I've got a couple offers above asking price, you know, significantly above. They're not cash offers, but you know, your client's probably gonna have to come up a little bit, even though it's an amazing offer, right?
Yeah.
Listen, what do they say? All right, well, what do I need to get up to? You know, it's cash offer, no inspections. What is that worth to your client? No appraisal.
Yeah.
We could probably get this deal put together for a little bit less than some of those other offers because it's such a beneficial thing, right? So listen to what they have to say.
Right.
Okay. Stay calm and relax. Right, guys? Don't get nervous, right? At the end of the day, you're going to put in hundreds of offers. Your first couple offers are going to be a little nervous, right? But remember, get the emotion out of it. We don't count our chickens until they're hatched, right? All right, be calm, submit the offer. You got to be calm for your clients. Don't be nervous. I have agents all the time. They're like freaking out with me. I'm like, you need to just chill out. I had an offer I submitted a couple weeks back. It took 9 days for them to come back to us. 9 days, right? Sometimes it gets a little ridiculous. Okay.
Did you ever check in or you just wait?
Absolutely. Every day. Hey, just want to touch base. See where we're at. Right. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Right. And it was an estate sale. Those 3 family members, and they were kind of dragging their feet. One of them was a pain in the ass. It was during 4th of July vacation. Right. There's a bunch of other reasons. All right.
Can I
Focus
just
on your
add something
customers.
in there quick?
Yeah,
Nick?
absolutely.
So the key in this is how you present it. And we talked about this earlier. You know, my goal is to figure out what's going on, right? So I'm not going to call Nick and be like, Nick, like I put an offer in 7 days ago. Like my buyers really need to know if they're going to get this property or not, right? That's not the way to present yourself, right? So there's a way that you can still get what you're looking for, but present it in the right manner. I have a listing right now. It's under contract. The buyer's agent is on top of stuff, which is great. But the way that she responds, the way that she presents herself to me is like, hey, what's going on? That's very different from morning, Melanie. Don't mean to be a pest, just checking in, right? So if I'm representing my client, yeah, I'm irritated because it's been 7 days, but the agent on the other side is not going to know that because that's not in the best interest of my client. So just keep that in the back of your mind that you can get the same information, but present it in a way that represents your client best.
You should be brown nosing all the time. I don't care if you got 50 offers, be nice to those buyers, right? Because you never know when they're going to be the listing agent on your next property. Be nice to them, be respectful. Okay. All right. Focus on your customers' needs. Hey, listen, I don't mean to bother you, but my clients, they really love this house, but there's a couple of the houses that they want to take a look at. I just want to see where we're at. Okay. And in my negotiation, sometimes you got to be hard, right? I told my realtor, I was like, this is what I would do. Right. It was a terrible situation. I hated not being the realtor. It's the first time I buy houses all the time. The first time I wasn't the agent because I'm not licensed in New Hampshire. So I was like, this is what I would do. All right. I would tell them that they have till 6 o'clock this afternoon to accept my offer or I'm out. Right. In that case, I was the buyer, so I could do that. Right. But, sometimes in that case, I present to my clients, hey, listen, you know what? We can put a time frame on this. I know that it's stressing you guys out. All right. And I'll reach out to the other realtor and be like, hey, listen, you know what? My clients really need a decision. You know, they're willing to wait till 6 o'clock, and then they're unfortunately going to have to pull their offer. Even though I was like, I'm out. I was like, I'm done bullshitting. Right? They accept my offer by 6 o'clock, or I'm done. I'll move on to the next one. I don't care. Right? And they end up accepting my offer in that situation. But I'm sure if my realtor went at him and like attacked him like I was doing, they would have been like, screw that asshole. All right. So once again, exactly what Melanie was saying. Position, present it in a proper way. Be professional the whole time. Right? Be nice, be pleasant. I want to work with people like that. All right? Offers get accepted every single day by agents just being nice and not being assholes. So many jerks out there in the real estate world right now. All right? And the thing that I see people never do is give your offer the best chance. Don't submit it and just be like, oh, we're never getting it. Right? I submit offers all the time and I'm like, hey, no way in hell we're getting that thing accepted. And it gets accepted and I'm like, wow. Right? So listen, be positive. Hey, listen, you know what? My clients, this is the max, right, that they're willing to go in, but they love the house, right? They're going to be super easy to work with. They're not looking to nitpick inspections or anything like that, right? See what we can do to make this thing happen. All right? Don't ever be negative. Negativity breeds negativity. All right? So stay off that. Be positive at all times. All right? I guarantee I submitted more offers than anybody else in here. Does anybody submit a ton of offers for one buyer and not get one accepted yet? Anybody? Melanie, what's the most amount of offers you submitted this year and didn't get accepted?
For one client,
Yeah,
9.
I got you beat. Did anybody submit more than 9 offers for one buyer without getting it accepted? 14, guys.
11.
I submitted 14 offers, got denied 14 times with one buyer, a beautiful young couple. The 15th one got accepted. Right? Do you think that I ever lost focus, right? At any point in time? Of course I did. 15, what are you, crazy? I put 15 offers in, right? There were times throughout there I was like,
have a
man, we're
question
never
for
gonna get one
you.
accepted, right? But I had to reposition that, and I had to really focus. Be like, no, we're positive. We're gonna get this one. My clients never once didn't think we were gonna get it.
Someone's got a question, Nick.
Go ahead. All right, let me see. What's the next slide that we're doing here? I am absolutely terrible at taking bathroom breaks. So if anybody needs to take a bathroom break, does that work for everybody? All right, cool. Let's take a 5-minute break and then we're gonna jump right back into this. Sorry, guys. Usually, like, there's another like coach that's on here that's like, Nick, you're killing people. So we're going to take 5 minutes. We'll be back at 10:53. 10:53. All right, we are back in the house here. Back to the position. See, a lot of people are still out in the bathrooms. Does anybody have any general questions while we're waiting for some more people to jump back on here?
Someone asked for our contact information, so I'll put that in the chat.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
So you talked a lot about like using the notion of other offers to negotiate with an offer, saying like, oh, I have a bunch of offers, or I'm expecting a bunch, or something like that.
Yep.
Could you also use like showings in the same way, saying, oh, you know, I have a bunch of showings this week, I'm expecting offers from that, to kind of allude to the fact that there's people that really want to get down there and see the place. So if you really want to put in a good offer, let's
Absolutely.
get 20 showings.
Yeah, I will not accept an offer unless it's like legit $20,000, $30,000 over asking price. I won't cancel showings unless it's legit. So me personally, when I list a home, I list homes on Mondays or Tuesdays. Okay. And I have an open house on Saturday every time I list a house, right? Monday, Tuesday list, open house on Saturday. And I position myself as the listing agent to get multiple offers so that I can cancel that open house. My goal is to cancel the open house, right? Now, if you're trying to do the open house to get buyers, which I highly suggest if you guys are new agents, then maybe you want to list your house later in the week, or you just tell them, hey, we're not looking at offers until after the open house. But I like to use any type of leverage I can in negotiations. You submit an offer. Hey, listen, if you blow my client's socks off, we'll cancel that open house. Right. And that's something that I do use there. But I definitely absolutely use showings in negotiations. Hey, thank you for submitting that offer. I got 20 showings still that I have to show it to. If your clients can knock my client's socks off, I'll cancel all those showings. I'll cancel the open house. Right.
Yeah. So
Or
if they're
maybe I won't.
serious, they're serious. They might say, oh, wait, you have 20 showings. All right, hold up. We have another offer coming in. And then you would say, all right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So one of the ways that one of the strategies that I use and I train all my agents to do is I submit 3 offers on one house, not multiple houses. 3 offers on one house. Purchase and sales agreement. I offer $250. Melanie's smiling because she loves it. All right. I offer $250. I also attach an escalation clause that maybe goes up to $300. And then I also put a proposition in my offer that states, if you accept our offer by 12 o'clock tomorrow, we will pay you $275. So I'm offering them $250, $275 if you accept our offer by tomorrow at 12, or we'll roll the dice, see if somebody beats us with an escalation clause. We'll pay up to, all right, $300,000. What that does is now it puts the perception in the seller's head that I could lose $25,000 if I don't accept their offer by 12 o'clock tomorrow. Okay. I don't like to gamble unless it's something that I'm extremely familiar with. So real estate, I love to gamble real estate. I love to buy real estate. I love to flip houses and gamble with it, right? Educated gambling is what I do. This is my life. This is what I do. I know I'm going to have good success with it. Okay. Most people don't like to gamble. There are some, but they don't want to gamble with their house, right? $25,000, right? Puts a lot of pressure on them. I've gotten a lot of offers accepted over the last couple of months doing this. Okay. Worst case scenario, they don't give us an answer by 12 o'clock tomorrow. And then I at least have an escalation up to $300,000. We're still in the game. I'm not propositioning them like I did with that house I bought in New Hampshire and said, 6 o'clock today, we're out, right? We're saying that our purchase price is going to change. Okay. And I get agents freaking out, calling me at like 12 o'clock. They're like, can you hold on for like 20 minutes, please, 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 my client, right? And it gives me a power position, right? So there's a lot of fun, different things that you guys can do with negotiations on the buyer side, the seller side, right? We have to know how people's brains work, right? And know that they don't want to risk that, right? They don't want to risk that $25,000, even though they could potentially get $50,000. All right. If I asked every single person in this room right now, and I said, I'm going to give you 2 dice. All right. You can either take $25,000 right now, or you can roll it. Right. And if you get lower than a 3, a 1, 2, or 3, right, you get double. How many people are going to risk losing that 25? Right. We'll just do 1 die. Right. I'm going to give you $25,000 right now, or you can double it if you roll a 1, 2, or 3. But if you don't get a 1, 2, or 3, you get nothing. How many people here are going to roll that dice, right, to try and get the $50,000? I'm sure somebody would. But majority of the people are going to be like, I'll just take the $25,000 and run. And that's what we're doing with that strategy. Does that make sense to you guys? So
you're just trying to break that comfort level of the other person, really.
Exactly. right? What's the pain point, right? But I also don't want to be an ass and be like, hey, listen, you accept our offer by 12 o'clock tomorrow or our client's out. Because if they have 6 offers, they might have an offer already that's more than the 275, right? So I still want to be in the game if I possibly can, right? We know that they're getting like 4, 5, 10 offers, 20 offers, 30 offers. You know what I'm
Nick, are you
saying?
putting this all in just the one offer, these options, or are you putting in?
It
3
depends on your
separate
state,
offers?
right? So it depends on your state. So I typically do it all as one little package. So I do a purchase and sales agreement, which has what I'm offering, right? The 250. And then in our state, in Rhode Island, we have an escalation clause. In Massachusetts, we have an escalation clause that's an addendum to our purchase and sales agreement. Connecticut, I don't think has one. So we have to like build that into additional provisions on like the last page. But so in Rhode Island, we do the escalation addendum attached to the purchase and sales. And then the last page is where I write in additional provisions. And I think all contracts have that section where you write, you know, buyer to increase offer to $275,000 if offer is accepted by this day and this time.
Okay.
And I'll let it slide sometimes too. If the agent's like, oh, hey, they asked is there any way that they can give them till 4 o'clock, right? Maybe they're at work. Maybe they're being honest. Maybe they're fishing me. I don't know. But I go back to my client and I'm like, I don't know. I can talk to my client. I talk to my client. I see what they want to do. And then I go forward. So I always have the client be part of the gamble whenever we're doing it on negotiations, right? Because I don't want it to fall on me and like screw my client out of $30,000, right? Because it definitely happens. I've seen people get burned, especially people that lie. I catch people in lies all the time and they get burned. So, but some of them win it. So once again, it's a gamble. All right, what I'd like to do is take a few minutes here. All right, how many people do I have on here? Got quite a few. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get into a breakout room. So I'm going to set up breakout rooms. And if you guys can turn to page 12. All right, we've got a scenario. I want you guys to practice. I want one person to volunteer to be the buyer's agent, and I want one agent to volunteer to be the listing agent. So this is the scenario. All right, the property has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and is listed at $350,000 in a well-established neighborhood. The house requires new carpeting throughout the first floor and a new garage door opener. 3 offers have been made, but all were below asking price. All right, so I'm going to get you guys in breakout rooms right now. And I want one person to volunteer to be the buyer's agent and one person to be the listing agent. And Melanie and I are going to be jumping into some of these rooms. So Melanie will be in one and I'll be jumping in and out of a couple of rooms. All right, so give me 1 second here. I've got 26 people, so I'm going to do 6 breakout rooms. All right, I'm going to hit that right now. We're creating the rooms. So you guys should get a command to join your breakout room right now. All right. Starting to see you guys jump in there. If there's at least 2 people, you guys can start. Looks like every room has at least 2 people. Awesome. And if you're not actually paying attention to this class, then I can still see you on the screen. So if you can hear me, I can tell you're not participating if you're not jumping into one of these rooms.
No, I mean, I'm willing to wait. I'll sit and wait. I don't have any friends, so. Sweet, oh my God, so beautiful thing. How do I ask? Can you text you? tune in on one. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. How did y'all do? Lauren, how did you do?
You're gonna pick on me. We were discussing after everything how I approached it because I know right now even appliances, the supply and demand, it's been crazy where they're out of stock. So I brought that into the conversation, but without knowing exactly if the buyers would be okay with it. Like, how do I know what I'm truly negotiating?
Well, it's role playing, right? So we just kind of make shit up as we go when we're trying to role play. But the reality is you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So,
If they were okay with going up to 350, then maybe they'd be okay with it selling at 340 and using that 10,000 extra to, bring in those appliances. But if they only had till 340 and they didn't have wiggle room, then they would need those appliances to stay, or would need it to go down to 330 or whatever. I don't know how much appliances cost these days because I'm not a homeowner.
well, right. So there's a lot of different angles that we can attack it, right? So with all of my clients, when I'm showing a property, are the appliances included? Everything's negotiable. The dog, the children, that's negotiable. If you give me enough money, you can take my children. Right? So what's that dollar amount? All right. So in that scenario, hey, if I give you $10,000 for your $2,500 appliances, are you going to say no? Maybe they have a sentimental attachment to the washing machine or the dryer, which those, by the way, guys, people are sentimentally tied to those machines. Fridge, stove, dishwasher, no one cares about that. The washer dryer, that's my baby, right? They're never, like, a lot of times buyers are always fighting over those. They're not included. What do you mean? Right? You can buy a new set for like high end, like $4,000. We're giving you an extra $10,000, right? So what else did you guys fight over? Like, what were some other things that you guys discussed? Did anybody have a strategy that actually worked, or did you guys run into anything? What issues you run into?
Closing time, we discussed that. We really didn't have enough time in the breakout room to get into the nitty gritty.
Okay, but that's a great one. All right, listen. Hey, I know you really want these appliances. Well, can you close an extra 2 weeks early? Maybe that's what the buyer wants. Maybe they don't. Right? So let's reframe it. And the whole point of like the role play is everybody's going to kind of have a different perspective of it. And that's what's cool about it. So what about the closing date? Okay. Did anybody else talk about anything else?
Go ahead, Hillary.
Sorry. I kind of went the opposite way. I offered a rent back situation if they needed more time to find a new house in Florida, that we could maybe do a rent back and then just find the buyers, a temporary apartment or something like that.
2 good real estate agents, all right, we'll find a way to make it work. Right? There's a lot of different options here. So what else can we do? What's important? Is it the time frame? Is it the appliances? Right? Is it money? Okay. What else did you guys work out? Anything else?
Oh, Nick, I know.
Carpet.
Carpet. Right? You worked the carpet then. Okay. What did you guys discuss on the carpet?
The sellers offered $2,000 credit to have the carpet replaced, and then we got down to about 15 seconds, and we were.
Okay, so that's an option too. Hey, let's talk about credits, right? What about used appliances, right? What if I put a different set of appliances in there? What if I give the buyer credit for the appliances? What if I give a credit for the floors? I have clients all the time. They're like, I'm not doing nothing. Okay, well, do you mind if I get a quote? I'm not doing nothing, Nick. I told you I'm not doing it. Well, I'm going to at least get a quote, right? Do my due diligence so that when a buyer comes in and they say, I really need these carpets replaced, I can be like, hey, well, I got a quote right here. All right, the seller's not willing to do it. All right, but if that buyer offers to give you $20,000 extra so you include the appliances and change the carpets, you best just do it. We'll find a way, right? We'll have it built into the escrow. They might not have the cash. All right, well, you know what? We'll take it out of escrow. We'll have the contractor install the carpets ahead of time. We'll have the appliances delivered, and then we will pay it after out of escrow. right? There's always an angle. I mean, at the end of the day, there are some negotiations that like the buyer and seller are just butting heads so much that sometimes the best thing to do is to just separate and go completely different ways. But in other situations, we can work through it, right? And if your seller's being a complete ass, right, and fighting over something ridiculous like $2,500 appliances, right, you need to do your job as the agent to make sure that the buyer doesn't just see that they're just being stubborn, right? They might just be being stubborn, but I don't want the buyer to just think they're being stubborn, right? Let's kind of change this a little bit, right? Did anybody learn anything else from that? Does anybody have any questions? Did anybody run into something they didn't know how to answer?
Nick, I had one deal.
Mark McConkey, I was on the phone when you just phoned a moment ago. 520-8275.
All right, who is, I cannot see who's talking right now. If you guys are not talking, please put yourself on mute. All right, somebody just had a question?
Yeah. Nick?
Yep.
Yeah, I had a deal this past year. The problem is people took their appliances and the lender wouldn't close because it didn't have a working refrigerator. So that kind of delayed it a little bit. And what we ended up doing, we found a rental place to rent the refrigerator just so the lender could see it was in there prior to, prior to closing. And
that's being creative, Bill.
Yeah.
That whoever came up with that idea, that was a great idea. Get an appliance in there so that we can get through the closing and then your clients can get their appliances. Right now, I heard a couple people talk about it. It's really hard to get appliances right now. So that could definitely affect you. You might have to do something like that.
Yeah, that's the problem we ran into. We couldn't get one, so we had to rent one.
I have an extra refrigerator at all times in my possession because I've been in these situations before, and I will pick that crap up and I will drag it over there and I'll put it in the house if I have to, right? I had a situation one time where the refrigerator didn't fit in the kitchen, so they kept their refrigerator in the garage, right? And I had to, in that situation, it's like, I don't care, it's there. Right, the lender was like, "We got to move that shit in there." I moved it in. It did not fit in that kitchen. It looked ridiculous. They're cool with it. Right? It was just.
I've never heard that. What is the reason behind that? The kitchen with the fridge.
What, having appliances?
Having a fridge in there.
Certain types of financing, the house is not considered livable unless it has appliances, unless it has heat. So like FHA, USDA, VA. Typically, the less money you put down as your down payment, the higher the risk the loan is. If it's a high risk loan, it needs to be livable. Can't have peeling paint, has to have the refrigerator, has to have a stove. If you put 5%, 10% conventional down, it's usually not a big deal. You don't need the appliances. But if you're putting lesser money down, then you definitely need to have those appliances. Because the theory is if you have to sell that house, right, the average real estate commission is 6%. If you have to sell your house and you put zero money down, you can't even pay a realtor commission to sell the house, right? And you can't live there because you don't have a refrigerator because you can't afford it. So hopefully people are going to buy a house and have at least enough money they can buy a refrigerator if their refrigerator dies, but that's not always the case. So, all right, any other questions in regards to that role play? No, you guys are good? All right, we're going to move on. All right. Counter tactics. All right. So what I'd like to, let me see. Do I want to do this? Do we have time to do this? Let me see. We don't. All right. I'm going to jump right over to tactics. All right. We're going to talk about two different types of negotiations that may happen. Okay. So hot potato. All right. Hot potato is an old school way of negotiating. All right. Back and forth. Right. So like 5-6 years ago, right, what I would do is I'd position myself, my client, what are you willing to lose that house for? All right. And then let's say that the house is listed at $200,000. Okay. And there's no offers. All right. Hot potato is hard to do in this market, but let's say it's $200,000. My client said, I'm willing to pay $190. All right. I'm going to start negotiations at $180. All right. And I'm going to go in $180. They're going to come back and they're going to say, you're going to have to come up a little bit. We're at 200. We're at 180. How about 195? Bounce back and forth. All right. My goal, right, is to do a little hot potato and do a little good guy, bad guy, mix it in there, right, and land halfway. My client's goal was 190. If I get it at 190, that's a win. If I get it below 190, right, that's a slam dunk. So I'm going to go back and forth with the ultimate goal to land in the middle. All right. So I might be negotiating with David. We're like stuck. I'm like, hey, David, listen, what if we meet halfway? All right. We started at 180. You started at 200. What if we meet it halfway at 190? Right.
Have you ever read the book, Never Split the Difference?
I have not actually read that book, but it is on a list of books that I need to read.
Yeah, it's a great read.
Yeah. And it's the same principle, right? You know,
No, this guy was a hostage. The author's a hostage, was the senior international hostage negotiator for the FBI.
Yep.
He said, if you have 4 hostages, you don't say, send me 2, you keep 2, we'll all go home for dinner. You know, you don't do that.
It's a little bit different of a situation when we're talking offers on properties here, right?
Well,
because in that situation, you negotiate. Hey, listen, if you give me all the people, right, we'll let you go. We'll give you a car that you can drive away with, right? Like we'll meet halfway down the middle now. And we don't want to negotiate lives here, but when it comes to real estate transactions, if you can make everybody feel like a winner in the transaction, then it's a win. Right. So, hey, David, let's meet halfway down the middle, right? If you can come down to 190, I get my client up to 190, right? We both walk away and we're good to go, right? You didn't, on the selling side, you didn't give in to the 180, right? But I also didn't give in to the 200, right? So meeting halfway down the middle, but that's hot potato. Sometimes hot potato goes the other way. Sometimes I win those. Sometimes I lose, right? Where it's like, they will not move below 195. All right, they're only gonna give us 3, or they're only gonna give us 1 hostage. Listen, I will take the 1 hostage, then take no hostages, right? And if my client's okay taking the 1 hostage, then that's the route we're gonna go. In my opinion, that might not feel like a win, but if my client's still happy at the end of the day that they at least got the 1 hostage, didn't get all 4, they got the 1, then it's a win right there. All right, good guy, bad guy, right? All right, test the vitality, right? Find out the problem, right? Is it a real problem, right? Hey, listen, do you really need those damn appliances? Okay, are you just being difficult? Like, you know, what is there something we can do there, right? Okay, hey, you know, I like to be the good guy, bad guy. I'm always the good guy with my clients, and I make the other person out to be a bad guy if I need to. Hey, listen, you know what? They are fighting us. They're beating us up. Okay. And I was able to get it to this. All right. I've also had situations where my client says, Nick, like 190 is the max. And I submit my offer of 180 and David's like, sure. I'm like, what the hell happened there? Right. It's listed at 200. I offer 180. He's like, sure, we'll take it. And I'm like, what the hell? Am I going to go back to my clients and be like, you wouldn't believe this. David just accepted 180, didn't even fight me. I'm not going to do that because what are my clients going to say at that point in time?
You overpaid.
Why don't we offer 170, 150, right? Right. So I'm going to go back and be like, hey, listen, you know what? I had to negotiate with David, but I was able to get it down to 180. Right. They're like, you're a superstar. I really didn't do anything, right? But I'm not going to make it out that I did nothing. Okay. Right. In those situations, I like to bust their chops. So in that case, I'd be like, hey, listen, unfortunately, I was not able to get it. I couldn't get them down to 190. I was able to get them down to 180. And my clients are like, wait, what? Did you say that right? So yeah, I got them down to 180. Superstar. Right. And remember, real estate is a referral business. I built my whole career, 12 years on referrals. Okay. I have clients call me every single week. Hey, Nick, sell my house. Hey, Nick, I want to buy this, right? On a regular basis. And that's from like, you know, doing stuff like that. Right. I'm not going to give away everything. Be like, yeah, you know, couldn't believe they folded like that. Hey, man, I negotiated. I was able to get you that $20,000. Some of my clients too, they push it and they're like, no, I don't want to negotiate. I want to negotiate. Right? I'm like, well, I can probably save you money. right? My riding lawnmower a client gave me. All right, I've got a kayak a client gave me. I got a canoe, right? People, they love it when you put them in a situation, you're like, hey, let me see what I can do here. I had a client, I saved him $50,000, right? His purchase, he's like, oh, I just want to offer this. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. All right, he's like, no, Nick, I just want to offer that. So I went over to the buyer side or the seller side and I said, hey, listen, do you have any offers? No, we don't. So suppose my client's willing to pay this. Will your clients accept it? Yes, they would. Call up my client. Hey, listen, I just had an easy conversation with them. They're willing to accept your offer of $25,000 below. Are you serious? Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Nick. Right. And then on the purchase, right? Pushing them. Hey, are you willing to put any money towards gap coverage? That goes a long, long ways. Right? If they're like, yeah, we'll do, I just did one recently and the buyer was like, the buyer's side was like, yeah, we'll offer $25,000 towards gap coverage. What? How'd you not offer that in the first place? That blew away all the other offers. We took it. The property didn't appraise by $20,000. The buyer paid $20,000 out of pocket. By just asking that question, I got my client $20,000. And be sure I'm going to let my client know that. Right? Man, you are a superstar. Right? When you guys do great things, right? I know that we don't want to be egotistical, but we want our clients to know when we actually do really great things for them. Right? Because that makes you stand out against the other real estate agents. Right? And it makes them want to refer you. Nick saved me $50,000. Nick saved me $20,000. You got to use Nick. He's amazing. Back to the first conversation we had this morning, right? That $16,000, I just made it back times 3, right? By just asking questions, negotiating, and pushing it, right? Nibbling is a little bit different, right? Nibbling is what we were talking about before, and when I was talking about the septic system, me back and forth with the agent. Hey, tiny little pieces. Hey, listen, all right, what if we do this? What if we do that? Hey, I don't think my client's gonna, I'm not going back and forth. I'm like, I don't know if my client's gonna do that. All right, we use words like suppose. Okay, suppose my client does this. Right? I use that all the time. Suppose doesn't mean anything. Hey, my client didn't say they're going to do this. Suppose my client does this. Right? I asked that. Suppose my client does this. Will your client accept? Yes. Cool. You just told me what your client was willing to do before I even told you what my client was willing to do. Right? So sometimes it's just the verbiage that we use. Did I lose Melanie? Is Melanie on here? I haven't heard her in a while.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, you're there. Okay. All right. Just making sure. For some reason, I can only see David, Bill, and Trevor on my screen. Nobody else is popping up. Even if you guys are talking, I can't even see who's talking to me right now. All right. So we don't have a lot of time to jump into role play. So what I want to do is I want to leave a little bit of time here. All right. So that Melanie and I can answer any of your guys' questions. Do you guys have any questions in regards to negotiations, how we set it up, how we position ourselves, timing, things like that? Do you guys have any questions in regards to negotiations?
Yeah, I do. What book or books would you recommend for real estate negotiations?
Man, that was a loaded question.
I didn't say I'd make it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm more of a podcast guy than I am a book reader. I've got this short attention span, ADHD. I just can't focus on a lot of books. So I don't know. I can't even think of one offhand. If I can think of one, I'll definitely throw one in the thing there. But
all right, I'm ADD also, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've actually, I'm really, although I'm relatively still kind of young, I guess, I keep telling myself that. Me and Melanie, we're 2 of the younger agents in our office, and everybody just thinks she's actually the tech coordinator, which I think is really funny. But we're not really into like the technology stuff. So I literally just about 6 months ago found Audibles, and it's like changed my whole life. So now I just listen to books, and that's how I do it. But prior to that, I was just listening to podcasts, and I'm relatively new to that too. So I'm a huge podcast guy. Does anybody listen to Bigger Pockets? If you guys don't listen to Bigger Pockets and you want to buy investment properties, you definitely should. If you want to flip houses, it's an incredible podcast. So
No, I listen to Bigger Pockets.
it's a great one. You know, just hearing life stories of how people have negotiated and do certain things is great. Actually, Bigger Pockets is where I learned about the multiple offer, right? So in my scenario, I've kind of modified it where I'm putting 3 offers into 1 offer. But what Brandon Turner does is he'll submit like 10 offers on the same property, like separate offers. Okay. One will be like, no inspections, I'll pay you $250. Inspections, right? I'll pay you $200 or whatever. And he'll just throw you a bunch of different scenarios. And then the listing agent will actually present it to their client. And the listing agent loves it because they're like, oh, I got 6 offers. The reality is it's one person, right? 6 offers, 6 different scenarios. So what's more attractive to you? We don't want to do repairs. Well, if you don't want to do repairs, then we'll offer you significantly less. And that's how I do most of my multifamilies and flips that I buy. I'll go in and be like, hey, listen, I'll pay you cash, right? No appraisal, no inspections. I'll even do the smoke. I'll do it all, right? But I'm going to pay you significantly less. On a regular basis, I get people that will accept my offer $75,000 to $100,000 below market value because I'm like, cash, no inspections, 2 weeks, let's do it. And they're like, well, why not? All right, sounds like a great situation. And other people are like,
I was gonna say, Never Split the Difference, which was already talked about, is a really good one, but also How to Win Friends and Influence People is another really good book. That's by Dale Carnegie. I haven't gotten through the whole thing, but that one's really good for negotiating.
So the MREA book too is the Bible. So if you guys have not read that yet, most team leaders have free copies. I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, at least.
And I was also going to say, I mean, the best way to learn how to negotiate is to practice, right? So real estate agents have 5 jobs. One of them is to script and role play. And I cannot emphasize how important that really is. You need to practice these conversations. And when you're scripting and role playing, don't be easy on each other, right? Like actually pose objections that you're hearing out in the market and practice on how to respond to those things, because that's really the best way to learn how to negotiate is to practice.
So one of the things that me and Melanie have been doing forever, Melanie's really taken it to the next level for my office, is role playing, right? Role play with other agents. We have a thing called Empire Building, which is group lead generation in our office, which Melanie and one of my other agents created because they're amazing. And the first like 30 minutes of that every single day is role play. Who we calling today? All right, we're calling, you know, we're doing circle prospecting. Okay, let's do a script there. Let's practice that. Let's go back and forth. Negotiation, same thing. Let's negotiate. That's why we did that practice earlier, right? Guaranteed you some people, hopefully everybody learned something from that negotiations. Okay, how's it going to play out? Right? You know what I do is before I teach a class or before I do certain things, I like to role play with my children. I've been doing that forever. Now they're 11 and 13 now, so they're a lot older. But when my daughter was like 5 years old, I would script with her, right? And the shit that came out of her mouth when she was 5 years old was wild, right? She had no idea what the hell I was talking about. She throws stuff at me, and that kept me on my A game. I was like, okay. And although she was really funny and cute, I would respond with like a legitimate response, right? And I would practice with her so that maybe she'd ask me little questions. And sometimes she'd ask me a question about, man, that is a great question, right? That I could see one of my clients potentially asking me, okay? And then you bring that into the education environment, bring it to your coaches, bring it to class. Hey, how would you answer this, right? I always challenge everybody, stump me, right? I challenge you to stump me. If you can stump me, right? That's going to be a badass thing. And I love it when I get stumped, because when I get stumped, that means that I'm learning, right? And I might go to Melanie, I might go to Dave or my team leader or my owner and be like, hey, listen, I got this question earlier today and I didn't even know how to answer it, right? So I had an agent last night getting in a pissing match with another agent because she was selling a condo. And I have always just had the seller pay to get a condo questionnaire filled out? And my agent was like, why? Why should I do that? I'm like, that's a great question, right? Maybe the buyer should be paying for it. It is the buyer's financing. They should pay for that. They're paying for the appraisal. Why should my seller be paying that fee? I've always just kind of paid it. Now I'm like, it's going through my brain, and I'm calling Dave, one of my other coaches that does a lot of condos, like, what do you do in that situation? I'm calling my owners. I was like, what do you guys think about this situation? Right. And it's opened up a new conversation. Like, you know what? That's a good perspective that you're putting out there. Right. And that's me learning. Right. I coach. The reason Melanie coaches is because we get better every single day when we do it. Right. When I sit here and I tell you guys to do this stuff, and then I get an offer and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to negotiate. Makes me feel like a jerk. Right. Every time I teach, I'm like, man, I forgot to do that last time. I forgot to do this. I forgot to do that. That's why I continuously teach. That's why I like being a real estate agent and teaching at the same time, right? Because it reminds me that, hey, I should be doing this stuff, right? That's why this Ignite class, you guys should take it over and over and over again, right? Because if you guys have not closed the transaction yet, the perspective once you have is going to be significantly different when you go through this again. Once you've negotiated your first deal and either got your ass kicked or kicked somebody's ass, then you take this class again, you're going to be like, holy crap. Now that makes sense. Or maybe I should have done that. And then sometimes it helps you guys to have like a coach or somebody like me or Melanie be like, yeah, you know what? You did the right thing in that situation. But there's always a different way of doing things.
I just have one question about the, the podcast. You said the guy puts like 10 offers in for one client on one property. I came from the high tech world, and we had a sales rep who would write up 10 different proposals. And my thought with that was he didn't know what the clients wanted. He couldn't narrow it down to say, this is, he didn't find out enough about them to narrow it down to give them what they wanted. What's your perspective with that?
The reality in a real estate transaction is that 95% of the time we've got a buyer's agent and a listing agent. Right? And if that listing agent isn't giving us enough information, then sometimes the 10 offers make sense. If you know exactly what they want, that's fine. But a good example of that is, I want full price, $300,000. I want full price for this house. I will pay you full price. All right. Or I'm sorry, let me set that up better. I want $300,000 for this house, but I'm not doing nothing. It's an estate sale. I will pay you the $300,000 that you want, but I'm going to do inspections. And if anything comes up, I'm probably going to ask you to fix it or lower the price. Or I will give you $280,000 and I won't even do inspections. So you don't have to worry about it. You're getting, and then you find out what's really the most important there. Is it the money or is it the inspections, right? How concerned are you with the house? And in some situations, they're like, no, this house is brand new. There ain't nothing to worry about. It's a new construction. So maybe they'll go that route. But in a lot of situations, it's like, well, what's easiest for me? And thank you for giving me multiple options. Okay. So you're right. Yeah. If you don't know enough information, you just throw in a bunch of offers, right? The more information you know, back to questions, the more questions you ask, the more information you have. Why is the seller selling? They're just looking for a change. That's what I say to people. I'm not giving you shit. All right. I'm not going to give you any information. I'm not going to push the code of ethics. Why are clients looking to sell? They're just looking for a change. Okay. What are they looking for? The best offer they can get. I'm that agent that Melanie gets aggravated with. You jerk. Just tell me what you want. Okay. Well, we'd like to get the most amount of money, close the soonest we possibly can, have the least amount of issues. Right? So what does that mean? Just present me your best offer. Okay. But in some situations, I have a client that's like, man, Nick, I don't care how much money I get paid. I just need to close this thing quick. Right? We already found our other house. We're already in contract. I don't want to have multiple mortgages. Get it sold, Nick. All right. In that case, I'm going to encourage them. Hey, listen, the sooner you can close, the better. Might not be the dollar amount. Okay. But I'm always looking out for their best interest, no matter whether they're looking out for their own best interest or not. Because not every seller or buyer knows what the hell they're doing. right? And they don't know the market. Believe it or not everybody knows the market is as hot as it is or as slow as it is. The buyer, the clients right now that think the market is out of control, when this thing cools off in 2 years or whenever it is, they're going to be like, I'm expecting to get 50,000 over asking and 30 offers. That's not how the market is anymore. People are like 6 to 12 months, if not more, probably like 12, 24 months behind on what's really happening in the real world, especially with real estate. All right, so it's our job to really inform them and make sure that you do what's in the best interest. And everybody, it's different, right? So every situation is different. So what other questions you guys got for us? Is that it? We did such a great job that we gave you every answer about negotiations. You guys don't even have any questions. It's either that or you guys are like, leave me alone, Nick. You're obnoxious. I'm okay with
I have
either
a
one.
question.
Go ahead.
So when you do multiple offers, do you actually write all of them out, or do you do like a letter that just gives different offers you would write up? Or do you
Can I answer
actually
that,
write
Renee?
out?
Go ahead, Melanie.
So I love this question. And the way that two things you need to consider. One, you have to present every offer to your client, right? If you send them, if you have multiple offers, especially, if you send them every piece of documentation that you got from an offer, they would be extremely confused. Because one, they don't know what any of that means. And two, no one ever sends in the paperwork the same way, right? And so what I do for my clients is I just create a spreadsheet, and it just has the key terms that are important for a seller to consider, right? So I'll put in the amount, and then I'll kind of columns of the different terms that they need to think about. And then I just summarize every offer on this spreadsheet. And then I do send them all of the offer paperwork, but I send it after I've sent them the summary. So I send them the summary first, and then I send them the documentation, and then I set up a time to go through it all with them and explain what these terms mean, why they're important. Okay, so that's what I do, because I think if you just forward, and I never just forward things as I get them. And during my listing presentation, I explained to them, listen, Mr. Seller, I have to send you and present you every offer that I get. So even if I get some obnoxious offer, I still have to present it to you, right? But what will happen is I'm going to get those offers, and then I'm going to verify some information. I'm going to review the paperwork and ask some questions. So I'm going to do a little bit of work just to verify that stuff before I send it to you. Once I feel like I've got the good enough information, then I'm going to send you a summary of those offers. I'll send you all the backup documentation, and then we're going to sit down and go through them together. I'll advise you on the things that I think are most important and best for your situation, but ultimately you're going to choose the offer that you want to move forward with.
And you can create these spreadsheets in opportunities. So
can.
Becky, were you referencing what she just was talking about? Were you referencing multiple offers at the same time?
I was referencing like if you're with the buyer
Okay.
and you're presenting several offers, but
Okay.
Oh,
that was
sorry.
good. No, it was
No,
still
that was
good.
great. That was great, Melanie. Don't apologize. So, the answer to your question is yes, you can do it all those ways, right? So you can either put it on a spreadsheet if you want to and say, hey, we're willing to do this, this, and this. So my offer, like I said earlier, it's 3 in 1. So it's one document that has the 3 listed out there. And then I would, in the email that I send to the agent, I would explain that these are the 3 offers. But if you're going to go that other route and you want to present separately, so 10 is an extreme amount, like you're not typically submitting 10, but if you're submitting maybe 3 completely different scenarios, it could be 3 purchase and sales agreements. And I would send them as separate emails to that agent so that they can present them the exact way that Melanie did. And then they present it, and then they can see that, hey, these are the 3 options, and see what works best for you guys. So it is a lot of time and effort to do that, guys. So it's not typically what I'm doing. That's why I said I put it in my purchase and sales. I do the 3 options there. But if anybody did want to use that method, I would probably do 3 separate purchase and sales agreements with the separate details on it. So we see that a lot more in the commercial world than we do in the residential world. So any other questions for you guys?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So first I want to say thank you guys so much for all this information. I noticed that this is where I'm going to need the most practice, especially after that scripting we did. It did not go well. It was not pretty. I'm wondering if Keller Williams, or if you have any ideas of where, as a brand new agent, like I haven't been in any of these situations before, and I loved the written, scenario that we did. Is there a place where I can find scenarios like this to practice? Or should I just chat with other agents?
I think that's a great question. I don't know if we have a bunch of scenarios, but I would definitely chat with some more experienced agents with your coach.
Mhm.
And we talked about at the beginning the different scenarios. What Melanie and I do is we just make shit up.
Okay.
We'll make up a scenario, we'll just throw it at you and then see how you respond. So we do something called a firing line, which we haven't been able to do because of COVID. Firing line is basically, it's 2 lines of people facing each other. And what I do is I make one side the seller, one side the buyer side, and then I give them a scenario, and then I have them negotiate. And then every 5 minutes, they take a step to the right, and then they negotiate with another person, then another person, and another person. And what's cool about that is you negotiate with like 6 people in like a 20-30 minute period, and you get all different perspectives, because David, Becky, and Jim are all going to respond differently in negotiations. And that's what's really cool about it. So I think the more people you can talk to, don't just role play with the same person over and over again, right? Try and role play with other people and ask questions, right? One of the reasons why I love being a member of the ALC, which is the Agent Leadership Committee, which all you guys should have aspirations to be there. It's the top 20% in your office, the leaders, right? Is because I love bringing up scenarios in those groups and having conversations. If you guys can get involved with the office, if they're doing events and things like that, go to it, right? So that you can pick their brains. If there's an agent in your office that says, hey, I need somebody to do an open house, volunteer to do it, right? Build a relationship with the top producers, right? If you're at Keller Williams, you're more than likely willing to help somebody, right? Most of us here, the culture is to help each other. Spread the red, right? As long as the KW sign, we're cool. Even if it's next door. I don't want balloons on it, but I'll take a KW red sign next door to my house as long as KW's got it, right? But call other agents in the office, find the top producers, right? Build relationships with those people, right? It's the best thing that you can do, and you can ask them, to help you, and they'll help you for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And Carrie, by the way, that's why we do this. You want to look like a jackass with us, right? So that when you're with an actual client, you don't. And that's the main reason we role play. Work out the tweaks here with us, all right? Get yourself in comfortable situations so that when you are ready for that game, just like Michael Jordan, practice, 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 so that when you're in that game for that 1 hour, that you're at your peak performance, right? Practice is going to get there. So don't feel bad about that. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to role play. They get all nervous. I jumped in at least 3 sessions and y'all weren't even doing the script. So I know how it is, and I know it can be a struggle. So you got other questions for us, guys? All right, well, if you guys don't have any other questions, all right, that is what we got for you today. I just want to remind you, for some reason, I can't get that screen to move. I want to remind you to not forget about your homework, which is, right, your daily 10-4, okay? I hammer this. Melanie hammers this, right? You need to have 10 conversations minimum a day and ask the question, who you know looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate. Don't tell people you're a real estate agent. That is a waste of time. Ask them who they know looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Of course, they need to know you're a real estate agent, but ask them the question. Don't just be like, hey, Dave, keep me in mind if you know anybody. Because Dave's going to be like, okay. All right. If we ask the question, hey, David, who do you know right now looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? All right. David now has to sit there and think about it. All right. We're evoking a real response other than a yes or no. So make sure that you talk to people and ask them who they know looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate. All right. We also want to take those 10 people and add them to our database. Okay. We have something called Command. Has anybody ever heard of it? It's an incredible database. You guys all have access to it. Add your contacts to Command. It makes your life so much easier. My agents that actually use that database, right? Those are the ones, right, that are closing the most amount of deals because they use it as leverage. It saves them time. It sucks, I understand, to have to put your contacts in that database to put it in Command, but once you get them in there, it works so well. I love it when an agent comes in, they're like, man, I finally did it. 6 months of me telling you to put your contacts in there, you finally did it, and they're like, my life is so much easier now, right? Because they added that. So add those people to your database, okay? Handwritten note cards, all right? My whole career revolves around handwritten note cards. I have sold millions of dollars of real estate because of handwritten note cards, right? Get those out. When you talk to people, send them your business card, right? If you guys go door knocking, every single person you talk to, write them a handwritten note card. Reiterate who you are, what you do. All right, KW, we talk about touches, reaching out to people as many times as you can, right? You call somebody. Who do you know looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? I don't know anybody. 2 days later, somebody at work says, oh man, I really want to buy a house. They already forgot that they had a conversation with Melanie, right? Totally forgot about it. Then that afternoon, Melanie's business card comes in the mail. It's like, oh, that's right. I just talked to David today. He said he wanted to buy real estate. Now I got that card.
I'm going to add 2 quick things in there, if you don't mind. So
Go ahead.
one, I bring this up with people, and if you've taken bold, you've heard this. If you haven't, you will. We have a reticular activating system. We call it our RAS. And this is the easiest way to describe this concept is when someone's like, oh, I'm buying a new car. It's a red Subaru, whatever. All of a sudden you start seeing red Subarus on the road, right? It's just our system, our brain just automatically sort of remembers things. So I actually say this to people, you know, Mr. Buyer, now that you're buying a house, for some reason, you're just going to hear about more people buying or selling a house. So when you do, make sure that you connect me with them. I actually say that to people because now, not only was it always going to happen anyway, but now I've called it out. So it's a much more, you know, better chance that it's going to happen. And we practiced this during our empire building this week when we were doing role play. At the end of a conversation, we always end it with, hey, Nick, you know what? I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, who else do you know that's thinking about buying or selling real estate that I could speak with? And if they go, oh, I'm not sure. Okay, no problem. You know, we're going to talk next week. Just be ready because I'm going to ask you the same question again. Ha, ha, ha. Right? Now you're just setting it up that you're going to continue to have that conversation and it's not coming off in an insincere, salesy way. It's just you having a conversation with someone you already know.
Right? How many people can we help? Right? So once again, phone calls or conversations, right? Doesn't have to just be phone calls. Can be messenger, can be text message, can be email. As long as they respond to you asking the question, who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Conversations, that's important, right? All right, adding people to database, very important, especially when you're a new agent. You don't want to be, you know, at your 100th transaction and now you got to build a database, right? Because that's never fun, right? Build it now while you have that extra time. Okay, handwritten note cards. They work. I've done it for many, many years. They work. There's nothing better than a handwritten note card. Okay, and then know the inventory. Look at houses, preview houses. Open houses are open now. Go to open houses in your neighborhood. Know the inventory. Gives you credibility, right? When you have a client that wants to purchase. My wife is also a real estate agent. She looks at MLS every single day, every property that comes on in the entire state of Rhode Island. Now, granted, we're extremely small, right? But we sell a lot more real estate than most of your states do, right? On a weekly basis, right? And she looks at every listing, every price point doesn't matter because she might see something that fits a client's needs that's not maybe in their criteria. And she also wants to know when somebody says, hey, did you see this house? She's like, yes, because I see every house, right? That's a very powerful thing. So
no one ever moves out of Rhode Island, right?
They do, man. I just bought a house in New Hampshire. I'm heading up. Anybody in New Hampshire, I'm coming your way. All right. So on that note, guys, it was an absolute pleasure teaching and working with you guys today. You're all beautiful, intelligent people. Real estate is an incredible career. I am 37 years old and I live financially free because of real estate. Melanie is extremely close to that, right? Real estate can do amazing things for you guys. So please take some of these tools. If you can get one thing out of this session, that's amazing. Keep coming back. So we love you guys, and keep selling for KW. It's an amazing company. If you need anything, I believe Melanie put our contact information in there. You guys can reach out. You can role play with me anytime you guys want. And I look forward to seeing you guys again very soon. So
We'll also
Thank
throw out
you.
you guys are welcome to join those empire building sessions that we talked about that we have in our office. So if you're interested in learning more about that, we have people from different offices, different industries, all kinds of folks. So if you'd love to join, please reach out and we're happy to invite you.
absolutely, guys. All right, you have a wonderful weekend, guys. Get out there and sell some stuff. Be productive.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.